technology has a huge potential. It depends upon our imagination. But while discussing about the potential and potential use cases of drone technology, I have to point out certain limitations that we are facing while using these drones in the field. As far as this jungle warfare is concerned, as you are aware, this jungle warfare is happening in places where very thick foliage is there, and the extent technology is not coping up with the challenges that we are facing in the field. Like the penetrating the foliage is one of the major issues that we are facing with this technology. For penetrating these foliages, we require different kind of these technologies like radio, RF, and different type of things. And when we use these drones in the field, um, apart from these foliage related issues, these weather related issues also are there, especially in central part of India. In monsoon season, the visibility is also very low, and these drones also not very much capable of producing some usable footages. That is one of the issues. And the endurance of these drones is also sometimes limited, because the area of operation is very huge, very vast, and the battery capacity and the flying time of the drones is also very much limited. And while using them, we have to we are aiming at something like getting real-time footage. But when we are facing with these restrictions like that, we cannot get the real-time footage. That is one of the issues. And another issue that we are facing is this costs. When we are going for highly sophisticated drones, then the cost escalation is also happening. And apart from the procurement cost, for the purpose of this maintenance also, huge cost is involved. And while these drones are deployed in interior areas for the purpose of maintenance and the servicing also, taking the drones out become an issue. These are the issues that we are facing when it comes to these Naxal infested areas. While talking about the same kind of problems that we are facing while deploying the drones in these urban areas also, especially in like very congested places, navigating the drones is an issue. And most of the drones, they are operating by line of sight concept. So that kind of line of sight will not be available everywhere. So that is also an issue that we are facing. So this drone summit is a forum. I hope that the kind of difficulties or the limitations that we are facing in the field is communicated to the industry, so that in future the technology will be improved, so that the drone technology can be put into use in police department as well as in other defense sector in a more effective manner. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Sorry, I forgot to introduce this Shri Sendil Kumar, who is DIG of Octopus, now in Andhra Pradesh government. Now that we have heard the end user perspective, I thought we'll start with those who are engaged in drone manufacturing first, and then we'll come to anti-drone. John, you want to go first? Yeah, please.
Very good morning to everybody. Uh, I know it's the second day, and I couldn't come yesterday. I missed the most glamorous part of the event, which was yesterday. Firstly, I'd like to thank the entire summit organizers for calling all of us, especially the drone community, and giving all the opportunity to put the stalls here. It's a great move. Now, coming back to my background, I'm Lieutenant Commander John Livingston, and I served in the Navy from 2004 to 2014, and I served as UAV external pilot, and flown Israeli supplied drones to Indian Armed Forces. And we are one of the few long range, or rather fixed wing drone pilots in India. I would take a humble chance to say that I'm one of them. And also, after 2014, when I left Navy, we started Jonet Technologies. Jonet Technologies, well, is the only drone startup in the whole of Andhra Pradesh who has obtained defense industrial license, and we have the defense industrial license to manufacture drones and unmanned ground vehicles for military applications in Andhra Pradesh, 145 kilometers from here, southwest of Vijayawada. So we've got this license a few months back, and we are already present in Andhra Pradesh for the last, I would say, 5 years. We have a very small runway for fixed wings at the same place where we have the drone production license as well. And we have been manufacturing defense grade loitering munitions and fixed wing ISR tactical drones for the last 4 or 5 years. And we have already supplied more than 150 loitering munitions to Indian Army and about 100 ISR drones to other armed forces. And why I'm telling all these things is because there's a lot of work that is already being done, regardless of the changes that are happening across the country. This drone summit is something which I really feel personally. I would take it as a proud moment because I belong to this place. I was born here, and our everything is right here. So this is the first time I'm seeing or witnessing drone summit, or probably of this scale, in this state, and it's really commendable, and I would really appreciate and again feel very proud about the kind of steps the new chief ministry is taking forward for this state. And in terms of now coming back to the setbacks and the technological disadvantages or the challenges, what I've just heard from the professor and the DIG, we also did try to work in the past with Octopus, and Octopus is a very specialized organization. They need specialist, I would say, operations to tackle all the challenges what the states have been facing, both Telangana and Andhra Pradesh. Now, the major challenge, what again we see here, is the end user's requirement doesn't match to the OEM's production capacities or the kind of technologies what OEMs, we people, supply. So there's a huge gap that has to be addressed first. So how we developed, say at Jonet, we don't simply make drones and then go to the end user and simply offer our products. No, we never do that. We have a heavy discussion, or rather a series of demonstrations which we do to the end user even before we supply. We develop a product to solve a problem. If you really solve a problem, you have the product readily available for the end user. Now, the challenges are not just technological challenges, even the cost. So we ended up making the lowest loitering munition costing in the whole of the world. So that's how we actually could solve a problem. So we have, say, I'll take for example, a typical example of Black Hornet. I'm sure. How many of you know what's Black Hornet? Yeah, there are few people who are aware of what's Black Hornet. Black Hornet is the smallest drone, I would say, ISR and tactical drone in the whole world. It weighs roughly about 20 grams. Now, that's very much useful for their operations. But the cost of this drone, which is very small, 2 units, I wouldn't like to exactly quote the price, but it's, I would say, it's less than maybe a crore or something, and that's humongous. You can't spend that much amount of money to get, small tactical drones that would fly for about maybe a kilometer or two and try to resolve a problem. No, that's where we are actually trying to lose the opportunities here. We need to come down on price, check the affordability of our end users. How much ever we say government has a lot of money, no, it doesn't work that way. It has to be a balance that should be struck. Otherwise, we will never be able to, create a very good ecosystem. Now, this is the first step taken here to create a great ecosystem. I would personally offer every kind of support which is needed to create a drone ecosystem here in Andhra Pradesh, because we are already here present for the last 4 to 5 years. We have a lot of drone startups within this city and state. They need a lot of support, and we would also like to invite a lot of neighboring, I would say, state startups who are already in the drone ecosystem to come here. But it wouldn't happen, just by sending invitations or organizing events. It requires a strategic plan. So all these things needs to be done. We do have Andhra Pradesh, I think, drone corporation here already set. There has to be a lot of deliberations done, a new policy that should be out, but that should be in support of everybody. It can't just be done towards the OEMs, the drone manufacturers, or towards in favor of probably the end users. There has to be a good balance. Plus, taking the help of academia, like how the professor was mentioning, there are a lot of challenges which which must be addressed, and the deliberation has to be done properly. So I guess we have a meeting tomorrow regarding the same in Delhi. We'll be attending, and we will also be requesting a lot of people to come across and give your points, probably, and then we'll have some changes to be done. That's all from my side, sir. Thank you.
Thanks, John. Next, I would request Mr. Muthukarupan to talk about drones. He's from Aero 360 degree of drone Nix technology. Request you to restrict to 5 minutes.
Thank you, sir. Good morning, everyone. First of all, thank you for this opportunity to be part of this drone summit and this panel discussion. We at Dronix Technologies are prioritizing ourselves in developing indigenous drones. And as a part of this indigenization, we work with industry partners, other in academics and research organizations. And we are also heavily on the in collaboration with the defense setup. So we cater to their micro and medium, small and medium size drones. Indigenous drones are mostly autonomous. So as part of this this initiative, we also partner with the central research organizations in developing indigenous drones. So the future of autonomous drones lies heavily on the AI powered. So we are also at Dronix Technologies. We heavily focus on developing intelligence through AI, as part of any improvement program or any improvement to the existing products, we just keep upgrading. Also, when it comes to the warfare, the modern warfare is inevitable that it's going to be with autonomous drones. And we, as part of that, Dronix is partnering with IIT Kanpur under defense tech programs. And we are focusing on developing kamikaze and loitering munitions, which will be, so we closely work with the defense folks. And here, as part of these developments, I would also like to present the challenges in terms of what the industry is facing to typically a small to a medium-sized organizations like us. So first, so it's in extracting the information. So my colleague here, I mean, he spoke about working closely with the end user itself. But again, the most cases, the industry sometimes end up in working up with non-realistic use cases. It's in general. So very few people or very few industry leads get to interact with them very closely. But most of the industry people out here do not have that type of access, which has to be opened up by the governing bodies like SIDM, FICCI, or CII. So I would like, I mean, there's a lot of collaboration required from these bodies in terms of categorizing the end user use cases and channelizing for a collaborative approach. So that is one of the key challenges from our side. And on the sustainability and the cost, there is also these type of autonomous drones and anti-drones warfare. Like for example, we are integrating all all our products are defense oriented, but at the same time, we focus on dual usage. So every time we upgrade or we cater to the industry standards, the main problem that we see here is the uh, go-to-market strategy. How fast we can go to the market with our latest technology innovations, and at the same time, at what cost we can go to the market. So it's something which needs more support from the policymakers or the end users, and an event like this is one stepping stone where we can bring in all the industry participants. So as part of the APDC initiatives, we have been part of the use cases presented to the industry, and we have done a successful POC, about 11 use cases that was put to us by APDC, and we have successfully completed, and we have sent a report to APDC for further process. Yeah. So on the key challenges, it's the specification by itself and opening up to the industry, and the finance or the cost management of the entire thing. So for example, if we need to showcase our product on the defense side, because obviously defense are going to be the major client for any modern warfare autonomous drones. So it has to be well supported, and any NCNC is going to cost a huge amount to the any participants, but there's no successful or productive outcomes out of these type of participations. So this has to be structured, and probably the governing bodies will take it up. So again, on the anti-drone side, again, my colleague is here to present on that. So he's more, they're on latest technologies, working on latest technologies. And the other challenges is going to be we being at par with the global competition. So one is the cost, which has already been, as we know, the benefits of indigenization development is one is the cost and strategic autonomy, security, from the security aspects, wherein there is no foreign collaboration, and it can be our own, very customized to our country's requirement. But at the same time, getting to, there was a mention about Black Hornet. And just imagine the amount of investment that has gone into the work of developing such a system. So that ecosystem is definitely not ready here or not available. And running a company at a sustainable level is always a challenge for us. And that type of support has to be forthcoming. So these are the, I'd just like to keep it short.
Yeah. Thank you, sir, for your inputs. Can we just go ahead with you, sir? Yeah. So, Dr. Nagendra, Managing Director of Unistring Tech Solutions. Again, 5 minutes.
Yeah. Good morning, all. First of all, I would like to congratulate the Government of AP and the all associated agencies for setting up such a spectacular show. And this shows the commitment from the government and the agencies to support the industry and then bring the best talent out, and then ensure that we march towards the Vikasit Bharat concept of Government of India. To begin with, I'm Dr. Nagendra Babu. I'm an ex-DRDO scientist. So I worked in DRDO for about 15 years as a scientist, and then started working on this company, Unistring Tech Solutions Private Limited. We are the largest anti-drone suppliers in the country today. Thanks to the initiatives of the government and the support of the government, the kind of encouragement that we have today, we are the first company in India to start exporting these systems outside. So that's the kind of groundwork that's really happening as far as the defense technologies is concerned. So government is very keen, and then their support in terms of the actions also is very, very legible. So turning the country from the largest importer of the armed equipment, today we started exporting close to 30,000 crores of worth of equipment outside, is really a remarkable journey. We are fortunate to be part of this particular journey. So now coming back to the topic today, so definitely I'm an odd man out here because this summit is all about the drones, but we are the ones who talk about finding the drones and destroying them or stopping them to ensure the assets, the critical assets are being targeted. So that's our job. So I believe we have been fairly doing a good job. The mission with which, although I've been working on development of indigenous technologies at DRDO, the mission with which we started this company to ensure certain critical technologies, which we, being a largest importer, wanted to ensure that we cut a lot on that. That's a mission with which we started this company. So today I'm proud to say that the key counter drone technologies. So India doesn't have to depend on any imports. We have companies like us and a lot of other companies who are building these technologies. The reason is this is fairly new for anybody. So this warfare has just emerged, and it is new for everyone, and the whole world is learning about it. So that means it is further challenging. So the reason I tell, the systems that we have supplied in 2022, they're already obsolete today in terms of the requirements, not in terms of the use cases, because the threat of the drones is emerging so heavily. So just to make you aware of, in a counter drone technology, what normally we have is, we have technologies to detect the drones. How do we do it? When the drone is flying, we just find a link and then say that there is a drone, or we use a radar and we say that there is a drone, and then we go for the countermeasures. Okay, that means either we jam the links, or we engage the guns, or we launch another swarm or launch missiles in order to protect the assets, depending on the assets. So this is how a counter drone framework normally works. So what are the challenges? As I said, the challenges are in terms of the ever-changing requirements and the technologies on the threat side. So we have to be vigilant on working on the newer and the better technologies. So this gives an immense opportunity to a lot of people over here who are aspiring to be entrepreneurs, or you already set up your own companies. So you can start working on very, very niche technologies and then start developing towards, because there is no legacy for it. So you can be on par with the current research going on. So to talk about more, probably based on the context, I can give you more inputs on it. So I'll just hand it over to Muti sir.
Thank you, sir, for the very short, nice inputs. Next, I request Mr. Ashwin Shastri from New Space to give his inputs.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Ashwin Shastri. I'm from New Space Research and Technologies. So it's a pleasure to be participating in this panel and giving our view as an organization. So New Space Research and Technologies is a 2018 startup. We are a leading developer of cyber physical and robotic systems. We expertise in something called as swarm capabilities, which is a bunch of UAVs, different types, operating autonomously, driven by AI and ML. So probably, I think broadly what I would want to contribute here is, as an as an organization, what are the challenges that we face whenever we term something called as an indigenous drone, and also what we are trying to do to ensure that we move forward in the indigenous manufacturing as such. So that's one input. The other aspect that I would want to bring forward is, I think a lot has been spoken about on the product side and the expectations, etc. I would also want to bring the process side of things. So, so we are a 500 people company. 70% of our people are working towards R&D, building new platforms and products. Um, as you all know, the defense procurement is governed by the DAP 2020. So it outlines the basic requirement of indigenous content in different frameworks, whether it is designed in India or just bought in India and so on, right? So what we experience is that the industry comprises of different types of players, right? So there are players who are heavily invested into R&D. There are also players who probably would want to directly get transactional, so they find a way to get products that would meet the end user requirements and so on. And at the end of the day, we see that this is a L1 game, right? So the lowest priced product would get picked up. And therefore, there are ambiguity of where the drones are coming from in terms of components, subsystems, etc. So that's one part of the problem. The other part of the problem is, I think, like it has been spoken about previously, the end users would want the best of the best products, right? So this is, of course, driven by the unique terrain at our borders. It's the Himalayas on one side, you have the desert on the other side, and hence the UAVs that are deployed needs to be that spec to be effective, both in defense and offense operations. So this is one part of the problem. The second part of the problem is just the journey of the raw material to the subsystem and to the final product. Um, so at times, OEMs end up buying subsystems or components from another vendors. So the supply chain visibility of the original source of the components sometimes are not very transparent. There would be certifications, but probably if I take a PCB board and say, okay, what are the chips that are coming from different countries, that would be a black box. And many times, I think OEMs end up buying off-the-shelf items, and therefore it's even more complex. So this is the second part of the problem on the supply chain side. And the third one is that uh, there are components that are unavoidable in terms of imports, right? There is simply no ecosystem in India. For example, if I take a battery, and where will you source the cells from, right? And it has to be coming from outside of the borders. And the second part is that the local R&D investment, I think, right from across, if I uh, speak on behalf of the entire industry, is insufficient in a big way. So I think by and large, these probably are the three categories of problems that the industry in general faces. So from a new space perspective, what we are trying to do is earmark those critical components that are absolutely has to be made in India, designed in India, and made in India, right? So in our drones, typically the brain of the drone, the avionics stack. So we have a platform called Mosaic, which has been designed ground up. So the hardware and the software has been designed in-house, and therefore the entire threat perception surrounding the source of the components is controlled right from a component level leading to a subsystem, and therefore on a system level there is a certain security that has been built in, right? So that is one aspect that we have tried to pick up. The second is that I think there was a pointer that was brought up that something that was built in 2022 is obsolete in terms of spec in 2024. This is also a reality for the drone because it's a competition between the drone and the anti-drone systems, right? So the continuous investment into R&D to ensure that it's not a one-time thing that you build develop a subsystem and then expect it to run for several years. There's a continuous investment that is needed to ensure that the products and the subsystems are in line with the end user expectations, right? So I think I would like to summarize this way. The indigenous drones is sort of a transformation for the industry. So it will take a certain while. Uh, it needs a very strong roadmap with the end user participating in building that roadmap so that the industry creates those milestones and the probably over 2-3 years. I think Mr. Murthy set an expectation of 100% indigenous content, which is of course a very ideal target. But then I think to get to that place where we feel comfortable that all our defense products are built in India, and especially I think component sourced from unfriendly countries, right, is eliminated. It is probably a joint work for the industry to build towards, right? So I think that is how I would like to summarize it. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you. I had put a question mark after 100%. I don't think it's possible. I think to the extent possible. Yeah. So, do we have time for a couple of questions, or should we wrap? Huh? Okay. So, time for a couple of questions from audience side before we summarize. Any questions for the panel members? Uh, will somebody be taking the mic to them? Yeah. Will somebody be taking the mic to them? Yeah. There? Okay. Yeah, I think.
Thank you, Muthi sir. I am AVS Prasad from Government of AP Department of Survey and Land Records, Inspector of Survey. We have actually had a drone fly over Andhra Pradesh. 13,500 villages we completed for the image capturing. So we are the, I think in my state it is we are the most, or in the globe itself, using such a large scale of imaging is we are in the front line, and we had completed even 50% of the total things processed and given to the citizens. So now my question to the manufacturers: we actually purchased the 20 drones, and we had a problem of crashing all the drones. So is there any technology, or are you prepared for such a thing, sensing the object or sensing the another flight, or any trees like that, those objects, and getting diverted, means taking a safe zone, turning and stopping that process and turning to the safe zone? Such technology being processed, or I would like to know. Thank you.
Talking about collision avoidance, I suppose.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes, yes.
so, you want to take?
Yeah, so I think when it comes to the specific question that you had with respect to obstructions and being able to navigate around, so there are basic technologies with collision avoidance. There's also visual navigation, etc. So these are quite standard that is available. More advanced would be autonomous capabilities where the drones are able to sense uh, not only objects but also flight paths, etc. Yeah. But I think at the end of the day, what it boils down to is the economics, right?
Yeah, it is actually due to wind it had a major problem with us, not an objects. I mean, some places even an objects, a wind pressure had made some complication to our flights, which we flown.
Sure. Sir, we have drones that are operating in the Himalayas in very harsh environments. So I think at the end of the day, it comes to the kind of specification of drone that you want to opt and the money that you are ready to shell out. So I think it's not the question of whether the technology is available or not. It's more about the choice of drones that you end up making.
Yeah. I think the gust tolerance is something that if you go for a cheaper versions of this drones, they will not have good gust tolerance. Whereas, like he said, there are drones which are flying in much harsher conditions, but then you have to put in appropriate specifications, and that will be a bit more expensive. Any other questions? Yeah. Is there a question there? One
Yeah,
last
yeah.
question, please. Yeah.
Hi, this is Harsha. I'm from KPMG. So we work very closely with a lot of critical infrastructure companies. For example, the companies operating in power sector, as well as other sectors like manufacturing and stuff like that. So I saw a vast variety of use cases of drones being used in these sectors. For example, power sector, right? It's now categorized as one of the critical infrastructure sector for India. So what, in terms of the drones being used in these sectors, what is the cybersecurity related policies that are being put into place from a manufacturing perspective, as well as from a manufacturing perspective, as well as from even operational perspective for all of these? Is there any policy that says that there are certain certifications that these manufacturers will have to go through? Um, is there any assessments that are being done to regulate what cybersecurity implementations you put in place for these?
Just quickly answer this, Anmohan. I think there are already some regulations, and this is still a work in progress. I mean, there are regulations. All of them, all the manufacturers have to, stick to those regulations. But that's still a work in progress, I think. Yeah.
Is there a way the companies who have been working in this space can contribute to this policy or regulation?
A lot of these policies and regulations are evolved after talking to industry as well.
Okay,
Yeah.
sure. Okay, thank you.
So,
Yeah, I have just one point. This point is for the CMO and the government officials. We would like to invest money in this state to establish more of our production facilities. If we get a good ecosystem in the state, and that has to happen with a very good policy framework. And not only us, Jonet, we have a lot of companies who would be willing to invest and put more money to create more drones and produce more of them here if we get that support from the government. It will be always a challenge. So this is the only point I thought probably I missed out, and that's also.
any other question? I think there's one more. Huh? Yeah. Yeah. Sure.
Respected dignitaries, I am Raghuram from Bangalore. I am happy to, hello, very interested to came to this summit. See, everybody is telling we are compared with other countries, we are the cheaper manufacturer of drones. Don't compare with other countries. We need to compare with our own countries. What is the least cost we need to manufacture? That we need to implement fastly. Then only the drone technology will be reach each and every people. Knowledge is most important for every people. So we need to increase the manufacture or technology, whatever cheaper cost, then so much of talent persons will be coming out their minds. So we need to put one hub where the spares is available. That is fastly we need to increase. The facility is the shops, whatever is there. Thank you.
Point very well taken, sir. I think there has been efforts from all over the place, industry, government side, everywhere, to bring the cost down.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I think you wanted to add a comment, sir.
So just to summarize a couple of things that I wanted to mention here. These technologies, whether it is drone or counter drone, these products are very, very technology intensive. So the people who wants to get into these spaces, my 2-3 points are, you please get into this with a very, very long vision, and you see to it that we are not, okay, make in India is good, but when we get the respect, when we start thinking design in India and produce it for the world, that is where we will start getting really mighty. So for design, it is not a very, very easy job. Today we are 500 people, about 250 to 300, This team always works on new problems, new solutions, only on R&D. So, and when we are working with the defense, especially and the government, your procurement cycles are very long, your ups and downs are very high. It is just not the technology, we also need to balance our economics and the whole management of the ecosystem. Even if I don't have order for 2-3 years, how the company survives. So these are all certain things that you should parallelly think. You will find solutions, but unless you give a thought about it, otherwise we will remain as a failed ventures. Even to the government, when you are actually promoting or when you are looking at giving some kind of support, please see, put an evaluation mechanism, whether these companies have, or the mindset is towards the design and then establishing that mighty in the country. So then all our efforts will really get streamlined, and then we will get to a good, logical end. So thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your inputs. Any other questions? Yeah. Quick
Yeah.
last question. Yeah.
So my name is Balaji, Dr. Balaji from IIT Tirupati.
Please.
The question that I have is, I was just curious when I visited the stalls here. One of the challenges that we see is how to extend the endurance of a drone. And if you see in the stalls, there is a conspicuous absence of solar energy or any other strategy. How you think can we extend the endurance of a drone? What is the way forward?
I think that's going to be a very long debate. And
Okay.
Balaji, I think so. We'll cut that here because solar has its issues too. And then right now, majority of them, we may start debating there. Majority of the drones which are long endurance are IC engines based. So that's a different debate. So right, I mean there are various strategies to increase the endurance. If you want to add a quick word on that.
So, Murthy, I do have. So, we are building a solar-powered bird, sir. That has a maximum endurance of 90 days, and we are building it for the Indian Air Force and the Indian Navy. So, this particular aircraft is a very big aircraft with a certain surface area for the solar panels to power the battery during the day, and during the night, it sort of consumes the battery. And it is expected to give a continuous, or what we call as a persistent surveillance over a long period of time, so up to 90 days.
Is it the same one that NAL tested recently? No.
So NAL has tested for continuous flight of 13 hours. So we at New Space have built a UAV that has crossed the 24-hour barrier. So we have done a multi-day flight, and now we are embarking on a journey to do a flight of 7 days. So to give an example, we have a national endurance record for the longest solar-powered flight of 27 hours. Yeah.
Thank you.
These technologies does exist, but if you have to fly this at an altitude of 500 meters, then solar-powered is not that of use. Yeah.
We are looking at basically high altitude long endurance. So that's HALES, and that's a different matter. Yeah.
So very good morning, sir. My name is Bhagyashree. I'm a lecturer in engineering college. So actually, I'm sorry, this is related to the rural development of drone technology. Actually, thing is, we have taken few drones. Last 6 months, I'm working it. Because I'm interested, I'm passionate towards the drone technology. So what I felt was when we are on the field, we have faced last 6 months approximately 7 to 8 crashes with a single drone. But because I know about the technology, I know some few people, it is difficult for me, even for me, knowing the technology, getting the parts from different areas. For example, if I had a crash today, my propellers are gone, battery was gone, but tomorrow I have a field. I should go into that. Go to the field and should answer the farmer. So I felt like something, people like who are literated and we are facing this much of problems. If this technology goes to the local people, if anything happens there, so how could we reach to the rural areas if this is happening like this? If the thing happened here, for example, if we are driving a tractor and if we are facing any problem with the tractor, we have a service there. But when we are looking into the drone technology, if anything happens, so it's been difficult task for a rural people, normal people, in order to rectify that, in order to avoid such kind of things. So I request the government and the people over here, or the delegates over here, please make this towards the rural development so that every people will be interested. When too many people speak also, we'll get an idea to go to that field. But these kind of problems will be making them to backstep it because of these kind of things. So I request you to make this development towards the rural development. Thank you so much.
Yeah, point well taken. But please understand, like the tractors or any other motor vehicles, have been existing for more than a century, and also they took a couple of decades to reach consumer level. These guys have been doing much faster at a much faster pace. I think that will reach consumers level stage soon, but I think it will take some some more years, right? But then till then, we'll have to live with this.
Yes, sir.
Right? Yeah.
And another one thing, sir. So we faced problems like crashing, and another thing, if we want to reback to the field, it was taking 48 to almost 3 days we are taking to reback that self. So in meantime, we are accepting few fields now. So it is difficult for us to answer the even farmers also. Then farmers again, they are calling their backstepping, and they were again going to normal sprays. So this is a real time problems we are facing, sir. So that's what I wanted to bring this to your people.
Correct.
Over
Understood.
here.
And so that's why it's still in the domain of service
And-
providers.
Yes, sir.
Understood.
Thank you so much, sir.
So, question, sir. Quick question. Yeah. Mic here, please.
Click
Can
that mic
someone,
and hand on the right. Where are the organizers? Yeah. Can someone pass on?
Can you give the mic to the gentleman? Thank you.
My name is A. Shivaprasad, Arva Shivaprasad. I'm an architect. I did MArch in environmental design. We generally make the master plans for cities or villages. Zonal mapping, everything is done by NRSA maps, National Remote Sensing Agency maps. In a way, if drone is having a technology, advanced technology with accurate dimension for any specific areas, something like road mapping or something, if it is taken by drone, so that exact dimension of one structure to other structure, what is the available dimension, all that. And if it is available, automatically we can plan any village or any town or city in a proper way, so that traffic problems will be mitigated, building bylaws evading people can be mitigated. And I'm empaneled architect in archaeology department. There are number of temples and different precincts, forts and other precincts are available. But mapping is not done. When mapping is not done, the exact area, content, and its future planning, master plan, can't be prepared. If drone is equipped with accurate dimension mapping system, automatically it will be more useful for architectural services, urban planning services. So that advancement, it is to be added. It is my submission.
Again, if anyone of you want to take, it's fine. But just a comment before that is that I believe they already exist. I think, but then you have to buy the right drone again, right? There are drones which exist which do this mapping quite accurately.
Okay. I was only seconding you. Yeah, so I second Mr. Murthy here. So the tech is available to an extent where, I'll tell you that if there is a disaster, right, your Google map is irrelevant because your entire city is filled with water. So there are drones that can create a new map for you to an extent, so the tech is available. It's just you have to find that maker who is going to provide you. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we'll close with that because I think we have taken enough time. I'll just give some closing remarks. I already talked quite a lot in the beginning, so I will not take too much time. So we heard first from Sri Sandil Kumar, DIG, about the practical problems that they face in terms of foliage penetration, monsoon, and real-time footage, and then actionable intelligence. You get all these images, what is actionable intelligence, and then beyond visual line of sight, and so on. So these are all the practical problems. Again, I think for most part, most of the suppliers are already aware of that and they have been trying to fix that. For a whole lot of these problems, actually solutions already again exist, but I think it's a matter of finding the right product, and I think sometimes it's probably a good idea for them to take some help from the technical people also to get the right product. And then Mr. John Livingston also talked about OEM versus end user expectation, and to have a balance between end user and OEM. Sometimes right now the end users dominate the kind of narrative, and so at the end of the day they will also have to have more detailed conversations with OEMs. I think that will make it better. Similarly, Mr. Muthukarupan talked about the collaborative efforts that are needed, and especially when we are doing R&D, I think a couple of them already talked about how we need to have collaborative efforts, as well as government needs to invest some money to develop new technology with those who are willing to do R&D. And also, I think we should also ensure that the R&D, those who are involved in R&D, get some incentives. For example, right now, can we, let's say, those who are doing R&D, they get benefit not only for that particular product, but even in future when they want to apply for some other procurement, can they get benefit, saying that they have already done R&D and helped indigenization efforts earlier, so they get a preference even if they are not L1. Can such a thing be done? Otherwise we'll have this L1 problem always. So those who are, I mean, there has to be a category of people who are involved in R&D and who have already developed some things indigenously. I think that would be a good thing. So these are some of the points that were raised. And of course, anti-drone technology is very, very important. Dr. Nagendra talked about that. And there is a lot of work that still needs to be done. It is just starting now. And then again, there needs to be a conversation between the end users and manufacturing people. There is a lot of technology that needs to be developed. We are only now starting at, detection and jamming and so on. Later on, we may even have to do physical interception and so on. So a lot of technology needs to be developed, but I think there has to be hand-holding from the end users and the government. And I'm hoping with this kind of summits, we'll have more of those hand-holding, both from central government and of course, Andhra Pradesh government has always been very proactive in this kind of summits and in this kind of interactions and investing in these kind of endeavors. So I hope this continues and we'll have a good future and as early as possible. So I hope these things happen as early as possible. Thank you very much. I thank all the participants once again, and I thank all the audience and for their questions. And yeah, sure. Thank you. Yeah, sorry.
Thank you very much to our panelists and moderator.
Can we take one?
The last question, sir. We are running behind.
Thank you, sir. JT Ramaaravu andi, Vijayawada నుంచి వచ్చాను సార్. పర్యావరణ పరిరక్షణ సంఘం సార్. డ్రోన్ టెక్నాలజీ అన్నది గ్రామ స్థాయిలో వెళ్ళాలన్నదే ప్రభుత్వ ఉద్దేశం చాలా బాగుంది సార్. ఈ సదస్సు ఎప్పుడు జరుగుతుందా అని చెప్పి ఆంధ్రప్రదేశ్ 26 జిల్లాలు ఎదురు చూస్తున్నాయి సార్. అయితే ఇదే సందర్భంలో నేను కోరుకునేది ఏంటంటే, ఇండస్ట్రీస్కి, ఫార్మా కంపెనీలకి, క్వారీలకి, గ్రానైట్లకి ఇట్లా పరిశ్రమలకు అనుమతులు ఇచ్చేటప్పుడు CSR బడ్జెట్ 2% ఉంది సార్. అవి మనం రోడ్లు వేసుకోవడానికి, వాటర్ ప్లాంట్లకి, మిగతా కార్యక్రమాలకు మనం ఉపయోగిస్తున్నాం సార్. దీన్ని డ్రోన్ ట్రైనింగ్ స్కిల్ డెవలప్మెంట్ కింద కంపల్సరీగా మీరు వాడినట్టయితేనే మీ ఇండస్ట్రీకి, మీ కంపెనీకి, ఫార్మా కంపెనీకి మీకు పర్మిషన్లు వచ్చే అవకాశం ఉంటుందనే విధంగా CSR బడ్జెట్లో ఇది ఖచ్చితంగా చేసినట్టయితే ఇంజనీరింగ్ యువకులు కానీ, టెక్నాలజీ పూర్తి చేసిన యువకులు ప్రతి గ్రామంలోనూ ఉన్నారు సార్. చాలామంది ఉన్నారు, మంచి స్కిల్ ఉంది సార్. ఇండస్ట్రీస్ వస్తున్నాయి, వాళ్ళ దగ్గర బడ్జెట్ ఉంది సార్. ఇండస్ట్రీస్ 100 కోట్లు ఇవాళ ONGC కానీ, ఫార్మా కంపెనీలు కానీ, స్టీల్ ప్లాంట్లు కానీ, పవర్ ప్రాజెక్టు కానీ, సోలార్ ప్రాజెక్టులు కానీ 100 కోట్ల ప్రాజెక్టులు వస్తున్నాయి. వాళ్ళు ఎంతసేపు వాటర్ ప్లాంట్లు, రోడ్లు లాంటివే చూపిస్తున్నారు తప్ప స్కిల్ చేయట్లేదు సార్. అలాగే డిజిటల్ లైబ్రరీతో పాటుగా ఇది కూడా వస్తే చంద్రబాబు నాయుడు గారి ఆశయం పూర్తి అవడంతో పాటు మనకు డెవలప్మెంట్ బాగుంటుందని ఆశిస్తున్నాను సార్. నాతో పాటు మా టీం సభ్యులు కూడా అందరూ వచ్చారు సార్. ఈ కార్యక్రమంలో పాల్గొన్నందుకు చాలా ధన్యవాదాలు. థ్యాంక్ యూ సార్.
థ్యాంక్ యూ. Thank you. Yeah, I think what you're saying is CSR funds could be used. Okay. Oh, you know Telugu. Probably you know better than me. I don't know that well. So basically, that I think CSR funds are already being diverted for some of these kind of skill training as well. Skill training for operating drones and maintaining drones, which was touched upon when it comes to agriculture. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Andy. I request all of you to please step forward for a group photograph. And I request our MD, Dinesh Kumar Garu, Managing Director, AP Drones Corporation, to kindly felicitate our panelists and our moderator for this session. Huge round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Drone and anti-drone in future warfare. Thank you so much for those valuable thoughts. So please join us for the group photograph. And I request Dinesh sir to felicitate Mr. Senthil Kumar Garu, IPS, DIG, Organization of Counter-Terrorism Operations, Andhra Pradesh Police Department. Thank you for those wonderful thoughts, sir. Mr. John, founder, Jonet Technologies. Mr. Ashwin Shastri, AVP, New Space Research and Technologies. Mr. Gaurav Sharma, Vice President, Big Bang Boom. Mr. Muthu, Managing Director, Dronix. And Dr. Nagendra. And రాలేదు ఇంకొకటి. Of course, Professor Murthy Garu, HOD, Defense Drones, IIT Madras. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Yeah. Thank you very much once again to all our panelists, and we move ahead with the next panel discussion on investor insights on challenges and funding opportunities in the Indian drone ecosystem. And this panel discussion will be moderated and the context will be set by Mr. Amit Datta, Chairman CII Task Force on Short Haul Air Mobility and Managing Director Hunch Mobility. May I request you to please come up on the stage. And our speakers, Mr. J. Nivas, IAS, Additional Secretary, Finance, Government of Andhra Pradesh. May we have you on stage, sir. Mr. Amardeep Srivastavya, co-founder and CEO of Bluch Aerospace, and Dr. Roshan Srivastav, Project Director, IIT Tirupati, and Mr. Naman Push, co-founder, Airbound. And please put your hands together for all our panelists. And this panel discussion will be the key areas focusing on finance opportunities and scope of drone application along sectors, future policy considerations, and building a skilled workforce.
Good morning to all participants. It's a pleasure to have you for the session on investor insights on challenges and funding opportunities in the drone ecosystem. I'd like to first start by introducing my esteemed panel members. So we have Sri Jayanivas, Additional Secretary, Finance Government of Andhra Pradesh. Then we've got Amar, our co-founder and CEO of Blue Jay Aerospace, Dr. Roshan Srivastav, Project Director, IIT Tirupati, and Naman Push, who's a co-founder of Airbound. Uh, I am the chairman of the Task Force on Urban Air Mobility, instituted by CII, and also the managing director of Hunch Mobility. So with that, let's get on to the discussion. Delighted to see such a large crowd out here, right? And, I'm sure there's huge interest we've seen in the sessions on drone industry. Now, while the projection of the drone industry by 2030 is above $13 billion, we are about $2.7 billion in 2022. So exponential growth required. One of the key challenges has been the investment in the drone industry. Between Jan 2016 to November 23, the funding has been just about $83 million. That is even less than what the Indian space industry, which is a niche industry, has gathered. So I think the topic today that we see lot of opportunities, lot of revenue, but the funding for the drone startups doesn't seem to be on track. I think that's really our key discussion point. There's been a rapid growth in the industry with tech advancements, increasing applications. You just heard the session on defense, surveillance, logistics, agriculture, implementation of the drone rules in 2021, but yet the investment really has not, in this sector has not taken place. So I'd actually like to start by requesting Sri Jayanivas, right, to talk about how the government of AP is facilitating the drone industry, right? So over to you, sir.
Okay. First of all, I would like to welcome all the delegates from all over the country. Welcome to Andhra Pradesh. And I congratulate you for participating in the Drone Summit and also being a part of creating the Guinness record yesterday. So congratulate the AP Drone Corporation for achieving this marvelous feat yesterday with the support of all of you. So Amit had posed a very important and relevant question that is in the minds of a lot of young entrepreneurs, startups. What is that we expect from the government? I mean, what kind of support we can expect from the government and how the policies can help us? So first, I would like to highlight that the industry, the drone industry itself, now giving a lot of potential in attracting private investments. As Amit has just told, about 83 million investment has come in the last 2016 to 23. While the number may be a bit less when compared to the global markets, but if you see the scale of the investments from 2021 to 24, the investments have almost increased by 5 times in the drone industry. Similarly, the number of startups have almost doubled in the drone industry just within a span of 3 years. So I think this is the potential, which is going to attract a lot of investments and which also needs to be, supported well by the government. And as Amit has rightly put, this is a total $30 billion industry in the coming decade. So the policy of the government should be very relevant to suit to the needs of the industry. So I would like to highlight the government support in three basically fronts of how the government is currently extending the support, which the industry can utilize. The first is that if an entrepreneur comes as an individual, okay, so he comes as a standalone company, and how he can tap the funds or whatever the support. So I would urge the entrepreneurs to look into the industrial policy, which is recently released last week by the government. For the first time in the history of Andhra Pradesh, the government is coming up with capital investment subsidy. So this is a great opportunity for the industries to utilize this under the industry policy. Subsequently, we are going to come with the drone policy as well. And this capital subsidy, it can, from a minimum of 10% FCI, fixed capital investment, it can go up to 35% on selected, if they implement selected reforms, or if they achieve the employment parameters and the other things which is highlighted in the policy. Also, this policy, the important thing to note in the policy is that while you can tap the Government of India's support under the PLI scheme, this policy also aims and gives you a top-up amount. If you achieve a PLI, the Government of AP is also going to give you a top-up PLI amount, right? So this, if you come as an individual, okay, I come an individual, I want to set up industry, so you can tap the policy. Now the second way, like if I am I want to set up an ecosystem. I come as a private player, I want to set up a park. Okay, let's say I want to set up a drone park, a drone industrial park, wherein I bring in all the the ecosystem partners together and set up a park. Now in this field also, the Government of Andhra Pradesh for the first time has come with an industrial park policy. I hope it will have been highlighted yesterday, wherein if the private player comes and sets up an industrial park, there a manufacturing park, there the government is going to give you several consumptions, several exemptions in the from the regulatory framework. Like for example, the waiver of developmental charges, and the building permission charges, the conversion charges, and apart from that, the government is going to give you a fixed capital infrastructure subsidy amount. Like say I have put in money for development of the infrastructure, the government is going to give you, I think the policy guidelines can be looked into, at least 5 lakh per acre for developing the park, for developing infrastructure of the park. So this model is for a partner who is coming and setting up an industrial park. Now the third model is industrial model, which is already an interesting model, which has already been tried, and it is already in existing. This is the model where we create the ecosystem for you. We put in all the common facilities that is required for the drone ecosystem to survive, and then the common facilities involved ready to operate and plug in office spaces, and also ready-made factory sheds and other common infrastructure which the drone ecosystem requires. So this can be a drone tech zone, like we already have a AP medtech zone. So this kind of a model can also be established by the government, where the ecosystem we create, the operators come, and then we give the land to them, and they will be able to develop their industry in the park. So I would like to come again with the other set of model, where as a corporation how we can give you the funding, and other interesting models is available. So I stop here, and then I'll continue later, right? Yeah, thank you.
So we heard about how the government of AP can create an ecosystem for supporting entrepreneurs. Uh, Now, India's been called the startup capital of the world because the way we have seeded entrepreneurs. What's the typical system? Most of the ventures in India, I say most, are really asset light. So entrepreneurs bootstrap, get some revenue, and then they raise angel funding and move up the series round. That's the typical approach. Unfortunately, in drone technology, we are talking about deep tech. It's also not asset light. You have to create manufacturing facilities. What it boils down to is a lot of investment capital. And unfortunately, in India, unlike the Bay Area, where there is a lot of liking for funding pre revenue deep tech, right, is that seems to be lacking, and that definitely is a challenge. So, I'm actually going to ask Naman to speak about what has his experience been in Airbound on looking at funding for his business. So, Naman, over to you.
Definitely. Thanks a lot, Amit. I think it's been quite an interesting journey over the past couple of years working on this. I think the big difference between, deep tech companies, especially in the drone space, and the more typical startups is that every company has a 0 to 1 journey, but the 0 to 1 journey is a lot longer and a lot more expensive for deep tech. I think the Indian ecosystem has improved tremendously when it comes to getting opportunities for that early stages of funding. I think if you are a deep tech startup and you're looking to get to a scale till where you've raised maybe up to $5 million in capital, I think there's a lot of great ways to do that in India. And if you have the right story, you don't need revenue. You just need to give investors confidence that you can do that. The challenge is that for if you're trying to build really game-changing tech, if you're trying to build 10x better tech, $5 million is not enough capital to do it. And I think the big challenge we're facing is that getting that next leg of funding, getting to maybe $5 to $50 million of funding, while still being, a pre-revenue company, that's a big challenge. And so you really have two options. Either you figure out ways to get revenue early, which fundamentally means that you have to compromise on R&D, you have to compromise on your product. So rather than being able to build something that's so much better, I think the previous panel, they talked a lot about the Black Hornet drone, which I mean was genuinely a marvel of engineering. It's a drone that can fit in my palm, that can do all sorts of reconnaissance operations, military operations and all. But that drone also costs over 1 crore for a single aircraft, and hundreds of millions went into funding the R&D behind it. And the issue is, I do think we have the talent for that in India. I think the experience we've had with Airbound is there are people that can build absolutely amazing technologies in the country, but capital becomes a big issue, right? Right now I don't see an environment where in India investors are willing to give $100 million to a company that is just building out technology, that is not spending most of their time with customers, trying to get contracts or at least letters of intent. So that's where you really need people that take bolder bets. I think the best solution right now, which is a bit patchwork with the industry, is that you have Indian startups raising foreign capital. So you have Indian founders that are going to the Bay Area, raising capital for there. And my hope is that over the next 5 years or so, if enough of these case studies happen, that builds up confidence in Indian investors that, hey, revenue is not the only metric that's important. Maybe if a company is building out technology that is fundamentally valuable, that that technology on its own has value, right? Like with Airbound, our pitch is that we want to reduce the cost of last mile delivery by 100x. It's very, very difficult to build. If we achieve it, that doesn't mean everyone else automatically can. And that's where it means once we hit the market, our journey will be much, much easier. But getting to the market is a much harder journey for us or any deep tech company than it is for the typical startup.
What he mentioned is a very useful insight that the startup industry here supports relatively low investment ventures to start with, and the challenges that you face when you want to raise a lot of money but you do not have revenue is how are you valued? And that's where the Bay Area comes in, right? And I'm the co-founder of Hunch Mobility. We are building our entire eVTOL ecosystem, and we are in the process of listing in Nasdaq exactly for the reason that he mentioned, that you don't have appetite for that sort of funding here in India, right? But I'm going to come back to that question later. But before that, I'd like to ask Amar. Now, Amar is a co-founder at Blue Jay, and they have raised certain amount of funding. The question I ask is that as you have a number of drone ventures, investors know that this is a sector where regulation is changing, right? There are certain modifications. In that, how are they able to predict who the winners are from a large crowd, right? And what are you doing about it to ensure that you remain in the top of the pick?
Yeah, thanks for that question. I think basically for at least the sectors where we operate in, we would see the best way to choose the winners is people who are actually owning some of the core technologies rather than companies that would rather just get technologies from outside or white label the products because that is going to be the key for the long term value that the company is going to create. Because like we see, it's very easy to replicate companies and business models most of the times if it is just being white labeled, particularly for deep tech companies. And as long as you don't own the core technologies underlying there, and like Naman rightly said, right now they are very strongly pitching on how they're going to bring down the cost of their product by technology, not by selling that it is from India, or not by saying that getting lower BOM cost or somewhere, right? So that's how companies have to value. What is the way in which they are adding the value? Is it by investing in technology, or is it by investing in really unique business models that is very hard to replicate? So that's one of the things that I would say has to differentiate. And other thing is the team. I mean, of course, it always boils down to when it comes to deep tech, the core team that is building, and even like they should understand what kind of resources are required within the team itself, right? So these are the two main metrics I would see. And the third metric is even if we are building a long-term deep tech product, which we have very bold vision from the founder's perspective, but we should be able to articulate that to be able to, what I'm trying to say is, for example, you mentioned space, right? Since space, I was part of space industry as well before, so I have seen stages where space industry was struggling to raise capital, and I'm seeing stage now space industry is raising capital comfortably. So what change has happened there is, initially when there was struggle, there was actually a success story of a SpaceX or a rocket lab elsewhere, where people can see if they invest where this is going to be. So, and that time regulations were the problem. And once regulations was taken care, now they only see execution, right? So all the risks are taken care of. When it comes to drone industry, it's still, even globally, we don't see that kind of a massive success story to relate to for anybody. So that is where we need the kind of investors who see it's these technologies that are going to change, are going to be the main game-changing things, and not really that particular product that people are building. Because in deep tech, every time the product that you start with and product that you commercialize is going to be entirely different. So unless they believe that it's the technology that is going to change, not that single product, it's very hard to get that conviction for them also.
Thank you. Thanks for that. So let's move to, we've heard a lot about the challenges in financing for drones, right? And what are the opportunities available? Now, there's another angle to ensuring financing. VCs look for some amount of revenue as proof that the venture works. And here we had an interesting conversation with Dr. Roshan Srivastav, who actually provides another angle to how they can facilitate drone ventures in showing them revenue opportunities. So, Dr. Roshan, over to you.
So thank you so much. Thank you for the organizers to have me over here. I would like to first talk about what kind of an opportunities as a technology innovation hub we provide. We come under the national mission of interdisciplinary cyber physical systems. In fact, for the drone, we have a separate technology innovation hub at a national level, which is located at ISC Bangalore, and at IIT Delhi also. There is something called Cobotics. So NMICPS has 25 verticals, 25 hubs. All of us are catering towards the startup ecosystem and also the technology development and skilling. At IIT Tirupati, we have a technology innovation hub, which is majorly focusing on positioning and precision technologies, which is very closely related to drones, especially navigation, positioning and timing, which is a PNT sector, and also GPS denied environments. So coming to the startup ecosystem, I think NMICPS provides a very beautiful structure right from the idea stage to the acceleration stage. We provide funding. It's a risk-free journey for all the startups, wherein you start with an idea with a small funds. We give the seed support system. We also have acceleration funds up to 2 crores. Uh, but there's something different. We thought like grants are always available for the startups. There are a number of avenues to get the grants. There are also VCs who are trying to fund the good startups, but there's some kind of an ownership dilution because of the equity stakes. Now there are always startups are hesitant to give away their equity or the hard work what they are doing, but they're looking a good chunk of funds to make them establish in the market. So at IIT Tirupati, we have a very unique program which I would like to introduce over here. We call it as a Vikas. In Vikas, we are basically focusing at how do we bring businesses to startups. Now, can we talk to the government? Can government start thinking that startups are our backbone? We should give businesses to startups. And we as a technology innovation hub can become a facilitators to them, because we can see which kind of what kind of a startups are working, what is their deliverables, so we can handhold, or we can, I mean, any organization can take up as in facilitators. But I think we should start thinking how do we create businesses to the startups. Now Vikas does exactly does this. There is a very simple 4-line form where you can just log in. The reason we also started Vikas, many a times, I don't know whether in drone community, is there any list of all the startups who are part of this community, so that the investors have a fair idea where the technology is moving. Even the startups have a fair idea where the people are working in the competitor sector. So we are creating some kind of a platform for all the startups to create the businesses for them. So this is one of the initiatives, sir, which I think all the startups who are here relevant to us, we would definitely like to get registered on Vikas, because we as a technology innovation hub, uh, we should be getting connected with the ministries, line departments, state governments, and contact them and get the projects. Recently, yesterday I was just talking to Greyhound people. So they have a lot of problem statements where the startups can help them to create the solutions. So also one of the other points came up just before this session. I think also the government should start thinking, the technology innovation hubs jointly should start thinking of having uh, something like bigger grants, grant challenges, which startups get as a grants but not an equity. So the grant, such challenges can go up to 10 crores also. I was just talking before this session. The startup was mentioning that we need a big money. It's not like 1 crore, 2 crores, and maybe 20 crores, 30 crores to develop a full-fledged product. So I think it's a high time that we start focusing on grand challenges where the government and some technology innovation hubs come together, even the industries can come together and create a cohort of startups who can develop the solution in this country. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. So I'd like to take your last suggestion to Srinivas, saying that, so you talked about how the government is providing subsidies in terms of capex and others, right? But the challenge for a lot of the drone manufacturers is early stage. Is there a way in which the government could provide what he mentioned grants for specific government requirements so that it gives revenue and allows some of these startups to nurture at very early stage?
Yeah.
So first, so Rohit wants a Shark Tank in the government sector. So basically to provide the grants to the industry. Yeah, it's a very interesting suggestion. Okay. When you want to say support, uh, let's say budding startups, or to get the government support, one another model which is now becoming popular is DAS, where drone as a service. My colleagues will be speaking in the later sessions. Very important, let's say, fields in the uh, government system where we require the support of drones in municipal administration, healthcare, in the land planning, revenue administration, in all those things where the entrepreneur comes and offers me a service which is going to address my need, whether it is in terms of urban planning, whether in terms of solid waste management, or whether in terms of land, encroachments management, and all. There's various gamut of government systems. So where the entrepreneurs can convert it into a service and offer to me as a service, whereby I pay as a service model. This is one model which we can think about. The second model, which Rohit ji has already just highlighted, is a kind of innovation hub model, okay, where we allow the startups to come, experiment, give them a place, a space, and then some kind of a grant where they try and test out systems, and for some period, and we can also give them lesson an avenue to test their things in the field in the government system itself, and then if it clicks in, then we can scale it up to the next level. So that model also we can think about. And the third is that through the drone corporation, what we are having, whether we will be able to conduct these kind of challenges and let's say subsidize or promote specific projects, okay, specific projects, giving them a grant to develop this kind of thing, that also can be worked about. Yeah, so these three areas I think we can seriously think of. Right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. So one of the concluding questions is, in an earlier summit in Delhi, we had number of these financial institutions, and when we spoke about investments being very low, their query was, we don't get enough proposals from drone ventures, and the ones that come are really screwdriver technology. There is very little value addition, and that's why we are forced to reject them. So that was their response to a similar query. So I'm actually going to ask both Naman and Amar to respond to the feedback from the institutions.
Definitely, yeah. I don't think they're wrong. I think sort of, especially in the drone space right now, it's a bit of a chicken and the egg problem, right? If the funding environment is something that is not providing large amounts of money to these ventures, if founders are constantly being told the story of you need market traction, you need to show customer interest, you need to get LOIs, then naturally the companies that win are not going to be the companies that focus on technology, but the companies that focus on customers. What you're basically getting is, the next wave of e-commerce, but with drones instead of the internet, right? Which there is value in it, but I think the goals that we want, especially for India with drones, right? If we want to have a SpaceX kind of moment in India or an OpenAI kind of moment, you need companies that are fundamentally focused and obsessed with the technology. So I do think this is changing. I think there are more and more companies that are coming in this space, and they are starting to be rewarded for it. So I think it's more of a gradual thing. But if I would say like the biggest thing that needs to change in the investment ecosystem, I think it's that VCs need to be better at evaluating technology. I think right now VCs are very, very good at evaluating market traction. They have amazing models on, okay, if a founder is making this much revenue, or if they're growing at this rate, this is how much I think the company will be worth. And that's because that's the expertise they built out, right? it's a very different ball game to be able to look at a technology, be able to understand, okay, if this material is able to increase strength to weight ratio by 5x, right? Like, what does that mean? What does that mean in terms of outcomes for the company? So I think that that model needs to be built out. Then they have a much better way of determining which companies are just taking existing technology and packaging it in different ways, and which are the companies that are genuinely creating new groundbreaking technologies.
Thanks. So I would actually ask Amar on his views. What Pushp is mentioning is because of scarce capital, you are prioritizing that on focusing on customers rather than the technology, right? Would you agree to that?
Yeah, I mean, certainly to an extent, of course, we agree completely that we spend a lot of time on understanding customer, but I also contradict a little bit that we always have to keep engaging customer from very early on to get their feedback and to just keep tweaking your model accordingly. Again, coming to the first point of value add, which some of the investors who talked about, they say there is no enough value add. So just would like to understand more on when they say value add, is that value add in terms of technological value addition or value add to the end customer? What was their concern basically?
So their concern was that really what we were doing here was more trading operations, right? And very little value addition, justifying investments. And this was from three of the financial institutions, which says we are willing to fund, but we don't see much of value addition in the ventures.
Sure. So I think that's pretty much most on the terms of technology value addition, right? What they're telling.
Yes.
So surprised to hear that because at least at BlueJay we thrive to develop a lot of technology in-house, and where we are close to 60% indigenous technology today, and we want to go to 85%. So maybe they also should spend more effort in trying to find the right companies who are really developing that. And other value addition could be a lot of this concern we get when we talk to investors is there a real value addition to the end customer? So that is where VCs also need to understand, if not in the technology side, at least on the final use cases or on the customer side, they should have that kind of visibility that this is going to be a real strong value addition going down the line like 10 years, 15 years, and bet on that very early on.
Got it. Thank you. So with that, we'll open up to the floor for any questions that they may have from the panel members. Can someone get a mic, please? We need a mic.
To the panel members, I think I am from GMR GNO, and we have come from the geospatial industry. So drone is an extension of geospatial, kind of situation. As such, the LiDAR industry itself is a little matured now. We find it extremely difficult to fund the operations, the CapEx. You go to the bankers, the reality today is, first of all, they ask for a 150% collateral, and of course, on topped up with the credit rating. And you go to them and say whether you have this or you have this kind of situation. And we are finding it extremely difficult to fund the CapEx. I know this is going to be the future, but they say, no, we have this norms, that norms kind of situation on regulatory, on banking. And drone is the sister of geospatial now. It's a startup. I think still a lot of fundamentals are missing in this because, first of all, the R&D cost is going to be very, very expensive if you have to do the manufacturing here. And any entrepreneur who's starting up will definitely look at least a 16% return on the equity. At least 30% equity, 70% who is going to fund? This is a big question because the LiDAR itself is finding it difficult to fund. People don't see, yes, all your projections, I know this is the market, deregulation has happened in geospatial industry. First of all, a regulatory framework for drone is not in place still, which is more security-wise, risk-wise, much higher. And R&D requires a tremendous amount of investments. The second challenge is the people process. There is no skilled manpower available for the drones. And the question is, it's a vicious circle. As you know, he was mentioning about the chicken or the egg. I will put it in a very blunt manner. Unless the madness goes, the marriage will not happen. Unless the marriage happens, the madness will not go. So what is the panel? How do we really, I think there should be some tax holidays. A government should take care that this is an industry which is going to be future. There should be some concession on 5 years on direct and indirect taxes, some subsidies, kind of so the people come forward to take a risk and invest. Without any of these things, and we just say funding, it is a big challenge. Yes, there's a lot of innovation. Entrepreneurs want to assume responsibility and take it. But otherwise, we'll end up in a screwdriver technology, importance, do the things. Now, I just want the panel to react. What is that policy change which we require so that this is given a kind of a push or a rocket which will take us to the aspiration. Aspiration is one, but how do we reach there? I think there are challenges, and the challenges are not very difficult. The challenges requires regulatory and the statutory support. I just want the panel to respond to this.
Sure. So maybe I'll take a lead on that. I think part of the objective also doing this conference, we do want to submit a paper, all right, to the Ministry of Civil Aviation on some of the possible solutions. But your specific query that you're not getting bank debt, absolutely. Have you tried any of the VC industry, because you seem to be in a fairly advanced stage, and that could be an opportunity, right, on interacting with certain VCs to get capital at this point of time?
We have been discussing with the venture capitalists. We were looking at some mezzanine debts to do that, so that we put in. I think everybody says, venture capitalists, when you go, the return on their investments when they ask, it's much higher than the bank interest. Look at the interest rates today. If you don't have a right collateral security or a tangible asset to secure, probably there's 14 to 15% is the bank interest. Probably venture capitalist looks at as 18 to 20% return. How the business can survive, especially a nascent stage?
My suggestion is we can discuss this offline, because this is a specific query that you have, right? In the interest of time, like to open up to any other queries from the audience.
Yeah, so a big and an interesting question as well. I would like to answer some specific areas which you have raised, right? First, you wanted to put in a regulatory framework. Basically, if you see the current system or the current potential of the drone ecosystem has come out because the regulatory framework had been relaxed. Because if you see, we had the drone rules earlier where now our 90% of the airspace is being freed just in a matter of 5 years, because we know that though this technology was operation for in about 10 years, due to the restrictions and all those things, the industry was almost in a lull. So that's why the government has come up with relaxing the regulatory framework. So it is going to aid the industry, number one. The second is that, okay, what you are asking is that what kind of tax benefits I can get as an industry, my costing of interest is going to be high. I would urge you to please look into the policy very carefully. In the policy itself, there is GST reimbursement is given in the policy. 100% GST reimbursement up to 5 years is allowed, for industries. So that is going to aid you. And as I already told you, capex subsidy up to 35% if you're going to achieve all the norms set in the policy. So this is going to help you out. So please look into the policy and make use of it, right? Thank you.
Do we have time for another one question? Yeah, please go ahead.
I'm Pradeep Kumar, Secretary, Andhra Pradesh Public Service Commission. And my question is directed to Mr. J. Nivas, Additional Secretary. I have listened to your talk where the government gives the support, like three models what you have stated, like capital investment subsidies, industrial park setup, and then provision of land, etc. And an amount of 5 lakhs per unit also is being provided, what you have told. Now, after listening to the other speakers, I found that this particularly drone sector is a very capital intensive sector. And they have got considerable support in Bay Area. So, do you think that provision of similar type of thing here will help us in AP also, like creating a Bay Area type zone? And then, apart from that, since it is capital intensive and we already have corporations, and I also understand that they are not able to get the equity support, they are only able to get the grants. Why can't we look into listing of this corporation on the stock market so that as a corporation it can get the investor support, and thereby that can actually nurture all these types of startups? So this is my question. Thank you.
Yeah, again, an interesting question. Uh, your question is two parts. To answer the first part, where you want to have a Bay Area kind of a setup. Uh, that's what in the third model, which I have explained, was almost similar to a Bay Area model, where I create the enabling infrastructure, whatever the common facilities that is required for the ecosystem. Because this ecosystem, drone ecosystem, has got various components, propellers, technology, motors, blades, and all those things. And then AI is another zone, R&D is another zone. So I create an ecosystem, allow the players to come in. I give a plug-and-play kind of system. The player comes, he wants to set up, with ease, he'll be able to start the system. That is where I'm already proposing AP MedTech zone kind of a model, where the Bay Area king can be replicated, number one. The second question which you are asking is about this is a capital intensive sector, how we are going to support it. Now, that is why I have already told that government had addressed the problem specifically. For the first time, we are giving subsidies straight to the capital investment, what is going to be put up by the industry, number one. The second, you asked in the second part of it, how a corporation can aid these companies, how they can, whether they can go to the market and this thing. See, the corporation has got various models. We can ultimately, which is going to be cheap for me, I'll be going for that. I can go to a market, I can list, and there are certain restrictions for a government to go and list as a corporation. But we can very well raise bonds, we can very well take loans, and you have raised a very important point of equity. There are models where government has partnered with companies coming up with investment. The government has put the land as an equity. The company comes in investment, I put my land as an equity, I give them land. So then the company sets it up. So he has to only put up the infra and the running cost, and then the model works out. Many tech parks in Andhra Pradesh, in Hyderabad, Telangana has been developed in this model. So that model also the industries can work into. Yeah, thank you.
So I think we've run out of time, and I'd like to conclude this session by thanking all my fellow panelists for their views, and also to the entire audience, right, for being such a patient listener and for your questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. That was a panel discussion on investor insights on challenges and funding opportunities. And thank you so much. to all the speakers and our moderator. I request our MD AP Drones Corporation to present mementos to all our panelists and our moderator. To Mr. Amit Datta. Sir, మధ్యలోకి రండి. Thank you very much, sir. And Mr. Nivas, Additional Secretary, Finance, Government of Andhra Pradesh. Thank you so much for your input, sir. Mr. Amardeep. Mr. Roshan Srivastava, Project Director, IIT Tirupati. Thank you for joining us, sir. And Mr. Naman, Co-founder, Airbound. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. And we move on to the next panel discussion on drone deliveries, creating an enabling ecosystem for healthcare deliveries and cargo logistics in India. And this session will be chaired by Dr. G. Lakshmi Shah, VC and MD, Andhra Pradesh Medical Services and Infrastructure Development Corporation. May we have you on the stage, sir? And may I also invite Dr. Pulin Sharma, Assistant Professor, AIMS Guwahati. And I also take the pleasure to invite Mr. Anjaney Sahi, Lead Consultant, HTC Division, NHSRC. And we also invite Gaurav, Head Business Growth, and Mr. Dinesh, Founder, Yali Aerospace. Mr. Gaurav is the Head Business Growth, Teach Eagle Innovation, and Mr. Dinesh, Founder of Yali Aerospace. And this panel discussion on drone deliveries, creating an enabling ecosystem for healthcare deliveries and cargo logistics in India. We also have a keynote presentation after this by Mr. Dinesh Kumar, CMD, Andhra Pradesh Drones Corporation, on use of drones for disaster management. Post-lunch, we have another keynote presentation by AIMS, Mr. Rishikesh, on expanding access through drone technology and aerial medical support. And another keynote presentation by Mr. Gopalakrishna, Joint Collector and Additional District Magistrate, Prakasam District, Andhra Pradesh, on building digital land records for rural India. And today's interesting panel discussion on drone technology adoption and applications with focus on digital twins for urban planning. And the last panel discussion will be held at around 3 p.m. Around 4 p.m. we have panel discussion elevating tourism and entertainment with drones innovation. And we also have another interesting discussion on developing generation of skilled manpower for drone ecosystem of India. So for now, we'll begin with the panel discussion on drone deliveries, creating an enabling ecosystem for healthcare deliveries and cargo logistics in India. I take the pleasure to invite our panelists and our moderator. Thank you.
So, good afternoon, everyone. This is the session, I think, before the lunch, so always a tough panel. But we have a really great panel of both from the industry side and from the government side as well. So, we'll start with introductions, right? My name is Anshul Sharma. I'll be moderating the panel. I'm from Red Wing. We're a company which is also into drones, into healthcare and logistics. And looking forward to kickstart this panel. So we'll start basically going around the panel, right, with just quick introductions on what has been. I'll first start from the industry players, right? That although people feel in India that healthcare, drones in healthcare has been a new concept, but will be surprised to know that drones in healthcare was launched since 2021. So it's almost year 3 for drones in healthcare in India, right? So the industry body has seen from early pilots to POCs and to now starting to see some scale. So with that, Gaurav, would love to hear your thoughts and your journey so far on how has been your previous experience over the past 2-3 years of actually running drones in healthcare, delivering supplies.
So yeah, a very warm good afternoon to everyone. Yeah, so I I would say in last 2 years the industry has evolved pretty well. Considering where we started 2.5 years ago, where the drone rules were just liberalized, we have come a long way. With regards to how the rules have been framed, how various zones, sectors have been, red zone, yellow zone, green zones have been created. As in the previous discussions also, uh, the honorable member highlighted that 90% of the country is now a green zone, so it's a easy fly areas. So from that perspective, we have come a long way. Most of the panel here is from the drone as a service, logistic drone sector. So yes, in terms of the logistics drone sector also, the industry has evolved pretty well. And to give you a perspective from where we come from, so at Tech Eagle, we are one of the oldest drone logistics company in India. We have pioneered the space by developing made in India drones, which are capable of going 100 kilometers, can carry up to 5 kgs of payload. And we have been working with some of the major aims in the country, delivering services, delivering medicines, vaccines to very remote locations. And that's one big thing change has that has happened in the last couple of years, is that premier health institutes like All India Institute of Medical Sciences have adopted drone as a service, which is quite a tectonic shift. The way the industry has evolved, the way the government has started supporting, we have come a long way. But I think in terms of there is more that needs to be done, and I think in this subsequent discussion we will be also touching upon those aspects. So we have come a long way, but there is miles to go further. That's what I would.
Absolutely. So Dinesh, over to you. You've got a really interesting background story on how you were in Africa doing deliveries for healthcare for different companies before you decided to start up and take on this huge mission, right? So why don't you give us a feeler on why did you start Yali Aerospace and your experience before this in Africa as well, right?
Yeah, thank you so much for actually discussing this topic in this panel, because this kind of topic has to be discussed in every drone ecosystem panel or meetings, events. Thanks, Anshul. And I have why yeah we have started Yali Aerospace. Why I returned to India, because last 12 years I have been in the same field delivering medicines in many countries. Started with Singapore, Australia, Vanuatu, and African countries, and also in Switzerland, the Netherlands, Germany. I worked with many countries, but they have understood why drones are important. They give privilege to healthcare system. And one moment I understood in Vanuatu in 2015, the people carrying their children over distance of 10 kilometers to get the vaccine. So they have to carry the children over the time of like 10 hours or 12 hours in the mountain. And one day all the village members is gathered in front of our house and then said, don't go to your place, please stay here, we will, we will take care of you, you just keep continuing the service, because we were delivering the medicines, children vaccine, using our drone. And it is a UNICEF project, but it was like a teasing project, like a just testing project, like a pilot project. But the importance I understood in Vanuatu. So from there, I've started my career working towards a healthcare system, drone deliveries in many countries. And one time I wanted to start a company, move to India to do the same, service in the sector. And when I see the drone rules 2021, importing drones are banned in India, and they're welcoming a local, like our entrepreneurs, they have to build our own drones, made in India, drones in India. So that's a moment I just give up the job, and like not only me, including my whole family with 2 children, just moved from Netherlands to India and started this venture. And we have successfully started the company, and we have also developed the VTOL fixed wing drone, which can carry up to 7 to 10 kg of payload over the distance of 150 kilometer. But we have not only developed the drones, when we understood the healthcare system like a logistics, we also developed the docking station. So our drones can support, 1,000-kilometer range if there is a BVLOS corridor is allowed. Thank you.
No, thank you so much. It's such a deep, impactful story, and we'll again come back to that to dig in more, right? So, Dr. Sarma, you've been practically a user, right, from the AIMS Guwahati side. You've also seen some drone delivery trials and are also seeing some level of adoption. Why don't you enlighten us so far your experience from seeing on a paper requirement to actually seeing drones deliver products for AIMS Guwahati, right?
Thank you. So, at first, my sincere thanks to all the dignitaries present here. So, I am Dr. Fulen Sharma from AIMS Guwahati. I am Assistant Professor and Nodal Officer for the Drone and Remote Medicine. In AIMS Guwahati, actually, we are, after AIMS Rishikesh and few other centers, we are one of the few healthcare centers which were starting your drone services. So, we actually during the establishment of our ecosystem, we had to face many hurdles, like for the first is tender specifications, because we are from medical background. So making the tender, that is one of the important things. So what parameters we require, like cold chain maintenance, because from medical side, cold chain maintenance is one of the most important thing that we actually care for. And we all know that any diagnostic test, there is always lots of variations can happen, and also there can be hemolyzation, other factors are there which can impact the diagnostic results. So how to make the specifications, that was one of the most important thing. Then followed by, we went for the drone rules, and we found that AIMS Guwahati was in the red zone. So we approached all the respective stakeholders, like respected your Ministry of Civil Aviation, official from Civil Aviation, then Airport Authority of India, then your DRDO, then Indian Army, and Indian Air Force. So all of them, all of these stakeholders have helped us a lot, and specifically we have to mention about Airport Authority of India, with whom we are quite in a good liaison, and they are helping us a lot in our operations. So, red zone, that was a problem. So we took another approach, that we identified one center in a green zone. So we tried to conduct operations from green to green zone so as to avoid this problem. But that is also cost us lots of problems. Other problems like management problems are there we are facing. But we have approached for further clearance of the red zone. Next. Then other problems, like at the site, the problems were there were no, actually we need healthcare persons which are trained in drone deliveries or trained as a drone pilot. That education is very much important in primary healthcare level. So if we have any one of the healthcare workers is trained in drone delivery, then that whole ecosystem may be sustainable, or that will be sustainable for future, from future perspective. But that will lead to other constraints, like in case of damage, who will take care? That I think Mr. Gaurav, you will be able to elucidate on that point. And other problems were like integration of your another problem. So this thing can be, I think, handled by precision landing, or your by giving drop facility with parachute or some other things, which we will work out in future. And with the help of these drone facilities, there was wild dog bite was there in around 60 kilometers away from our center. So we have given them your immunoglobulins, and we integrated the same with telemedicine. So we gave doctor support as well as medicine support through the drones and through telemedicine, and we could save the life of all the 3 persons. And in that case, one cow died. That was because of rabies. So in the same, so I think we have saved through our intervention. But there are lots of problems are still there. We have to update ourselves also. At the same time, the drone companies also, they also need to update about all the problems. And one very important thing is, we are very that is, cold chain maintenance is very, very important. You must have something to maintain the cold chain. Thank you.
Um, so, Dr. Shah, you've heard basically now very users which have been using drones for some time, from right from tendering, drafting to operationalizing drones in healthcare. You also heard the industry members now who've been uh, in this doing drone delivery for 2-3 years now, right? Andhra Pradesh is I won't say like it's coming a little late basically to the party of drones in healthcare. But now, since the industry is ready, and we've seen a lot more validation from the rest of the country with aims adopting drones in healthcare and other parts, how do you think Andhra Pradesh can skip the work of just doing early pilots and POCs? And what do you think are some of the key problems that the state sees, that maybe drones in healthcare can become a large adoption piece in the state?
Thank you, Anshul. Uh, Thanks for that question. And yeah, so government of Andhra Pradesh, though as you said, late entrant in the drone, but no doubt the hope and the confidence we are creating in the industry will go a long way. So in giving the big boost to this industry in our state, in the first point. Secondly, in the field of health, the need of drone technology is very much required for us. I'll just quote some examples where we are seeking the assistance of the innovators, startups, and the industries to cater to the need of the public, especially in emergency health services and also in other fields. So we have 3 aspirational districts where the access for the health services still need to go a long way. So we have huge patches of tribal areas where accessibility is still a concern. Hard to reach areas are many. And as per the Government of India statistics, around 3,000 villages are under the uh, road connectivity program under process. There at least not less than 2 million people are still waiting for the proper road connectivity. So in such situation, if I have a technology enabling drone technology where I can deliver the emergency medicines, services, vaccines, even diagnostics, sample collection to results delivery. So that would be a great help. So in this way, we need both regulatory support, which anyway Government of India is giving, and also the logistic support for which we need to work out. So case in point, recently in the Vijayawada flood, so though we have engaged so many hundreds of drones to deliver the medicines, food packets, and also for surveillance and also for reconnaissance survey, so still we were facing the logistic limitations. So the mainly the distance traveled by the drone and its payload capacity. These two areas where the even medical department and the medical services medical sector is also need support from the industry. So I will quote you just small examples where the organ transplantation in the medical department, so which is very time bound and requires quickest response from the donor to the receiver. So now see, I will tell you, from Srikakulam to Anantapura in Andhra Pradesh, we have 500 kilometers. And to travel by air also, it will take less than 3 to 4 hours. Whereas organ transplantation is effective and efficient, provided if we do it in the shortest possible time. So in such situation, think about a city where there is no airport. For example, Kakinada, for instance, we have airport at Rajahmundry. From Rajahmundry to Kakinada, it is around 2 hour journey. Even by the with the clearance of the traffic, if we come with the maximum speed, we take minimum 1 to 1.5 hours to reach the destination. So in such situation, if we have the drone technology, where the organ is shifted from the donor hospital and delivered at the receiving hospital, so in shortest possible time, the success rate is more. Why I am telling this? Because I will tell you small statistics. In last 1 year, around 55 donors given the organs. Each donor has given average 6 organs, like 2 kidneys, 2 lungs, 1 liver, and 1 heart. Okay, so at that rate, so I had to save the around 330 lives by transplanting them. But actual transplantation happened was only 167, which is only 50%. Rest all organs you may ask what happened. They all got wasted. Though donor was there, so its utility was not there. And the main and one of the important reason was not coming in time. Because now I will tell you mechanism what it is there. From the hospital in a quick ambulance, it will reach the airport. From airport with the available flight in its time. So it will fly to the destination airport. From there again it will get into the ambulance, it will reach the hospital. So you can see the gap, so much of gap. If I can have a drone from the source hospital to the destination hospital in one go, I can save a lot less than 3 to 4 hours. So that will go a long way. So though we have the willing people to donate and enabling medical environment to carry out the operations, but this logistics to save the time is where I am seeing the role of drone technology, so to save the lives. In addition to this, you must be knowing, so during the flood area, during flood situation in Vijayawada also we faced the epidemics due to water stagnation and pollution. So a lot of vector-borne diseases. That is the after post-month of the flood. That is the main concern. So there the proper surveillance through drones regarding mosquito breeding areas and disinfectant spraying, sanitation work monitoring will go a long way in controlling the epidemic diseases aftermath of the flood. That's why we know, like, a knot in time saves the nine. Now it's time to rephrase it, saying that a fleet in time saves the million is what applies with respect to drone technology. So that's what the health department is anticipating. And obviously, as government and our chief minister is very supportive of this technology. So as we learned from the previous session, in India, Andhra Pradesh will be no doubt a very important, attractive hub for the innovators and also industries to develop the drone technology. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Shah. So, Mr. Sahi, NHSRC has played a very important role the, into drafting out and rolling out the AIMS standards, right? Pan India. I think AIMS has, there are more than 28 healthcare drone tenders basically which has been rolled out. Why don't you tell us basically how was the journey of starting the India's first drafting of these AIMS program? Where did the thought come from, and how was your overall experience so far?
So, I am Anjane, and I am representing National Health System Resource Center, which is a technical think tank for Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, Government of India. So, our main job is to strengthen the health system in public health facilities. So, provision of drugs, diagnostics, blood samples are very essential to provide the healthcare services in public health facilities. And we have conventional supply chain management system in currently working in the public health facilities. So our former minister, Sri Mansukh Mandaviya ji, guided us. Why don't we make a mechanism where all the INIs like AIMS and regional medical college can come up with one of the first referral unit, that is a community health center, and the drone service will be operating for provision of drugs and diagnostic in the facility. So at that point of time, there were no request for proposal for hiring a service provider was available. So we consulted all the aims, and we consulted Drone Federation of India, Government E-Marketplace for developing a model RFP which can, which can be used to hire the service provider. So we then consulted AIMS. We then we then consulted the community health center in our under NHM, so that there will be a communication system between the AIMS and the first referral unit, which my member was speaking about. So then we also trained Drone Didi, who will be supporting the entire initiative at the community health center. Then, then we developed one RFP, and the selection method was based on per kilometer basis, and we gave it to government e-marketplace. Then, as on date, I am sure 12 AIMS and one regional medical college in Manipur have established the service provider for providing the drone services. So it is under approval. So Government of India is going to launch the operational guideline along with the model RFP for other states, and for all the states and for all the medical colleges which they would like to adopt this drone services. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sai. So Gaurav, uh, we've basically covered, let's say, one leg, right? Which is, I think, the drones in healthcare in India have covered the 0 to 1 journey, right? Where 0 to 1 journey in which proving the use case out, proving cold chain out, proving uh, the fact that drones can actually do these deliveries has been completed. First, let's start with knowing that we know that we are at this juncture right now. Um, do you think that drones in healthcare should be treated the same as drones in surveying and drones in surveillance and drones in agriculture? Or do you think drones in healthcare are s- somewhat different basically than the other use cases?
So, Anshul, very good question. I would say, I think the kind of panel we have here, it's a great question actually, because we have on the panel people who are the clients. We have on the panel people from the government side who have a requirement. Then we have consultants to the government who are suggesting in the healthcare sector how effective the drones can be. And then there are people like us who can enable that. So yeah, so no doubt about it that drone has played a vital role in the ecosystem as already, by partnering with some state governments and working with AIMS, that we have really saved lives using drones, delivering aerial 100 kilometers, 50 kilometers. By road it translates to about 70, 80, 100 kilometers. So definitely we have come a long way, and 0 to 1 journey is definitely a success. Comparing this drone as a service in the healthcare with uh, the surveillance or other aspects, I think will be unfair, because these services translate into different segment altogether. So just to give you an example, that if I am doing a surveying or an agriculture activity, I am working in a very short range, say 1 kilometer or 2 kilometers. But when we are delivering services with drones, delivering medicines and vaccines, we are talking about hundreds of kilometers, and that's where the entire game changes actually. We are now not talking about visual line of sight, we are going into the beyond visual line of sight. And that's, if you speak to any government official, regulatory, they would say it's a gray area. We are yet to frame rules, regulations around the beyond visual line of sight. So that makes this a very special and unique category. And I think there are challenges in the sector, in this particular sector, which needs to be addressed if we want to take from zero. We have achieved 0 to 1, but if we want to take 1 to 10, we need to do lot of working as service provider, as clients, as consultants, as the government. We need to go a long way. So I have some suggestions and challenges, but I think we'll come to that later. But yeah, this should be treated a little differently than the rest of the sectors. So one or two things that I would definitely like to highlight is the regulatory aspect beyond visual line of sight, and the certification aspect should be there needs to be brought more speed to it, and that's something very, very important. Another important thing is that it is very surprising that we are 3 years into the drone as a system, but we still don't have any dedicated drone corridor anywhere in the country. We don't have not even a single range where I can go and just test my drone. I'm sure the government of Andhra Pradesh is definitely looking into some sandboxing kind of setups, which I think will be a boost to this sector. But that is need of the hour. We need spaces, places where we can test our drones. We don't need to be requesting for permissions to fly and test our drones. So I think if that kind of a facility is developed, that will be very, very helpful. And another important aspect which I think the agriculture sector has seen is uh, we need to really strictly adhere to the ban on import of foreign drones. I think that's a big challenge that the logistic drone sector is facing, because these are big size drones, they need reliability. If tomorrow we import a part from a foreign country and it falls, or an incident happens, then the liability has to be also there. So uh, if there is a ban on import of drones, that should be strictly adhered to. So those aspects, I think, are the biggest challenges which government, regulators, clients, even industry players like us should definitely brainstorm upon. So yeah.
Yeah. So 0 to 1 done, but 1 to 10 challenges remain, and hopefully we'll be able to solve them one by one. Um, so Dinesh, you've as you've highlighted, right? You've basically worked in different countries specifically for drones in healthcare, right? India came drones in healthcare first. I think the first country basically to adopt drones in healthcare was a country in Rwanda. Was a country called Rwanda in Africa, which started in 2016. Then came Ghana, then came Nigeria, Ivory Coast. So pretty much in Africa, I would say like 50-60% of the country is covered by drones in healthcare. So if you go to Africa, like drones in healthcare have been it's beyond basically a pilot stage. Like 80% of the national blood supply is right now delivered by drones in Rwanda, for example. So it's not a new occurrence basically over in Africa, right? So Dinesh, given that you've worked in such environments which have seen 0 to 1, but have also seen 1 to 10 and are right now in 10 to 100 stage, can you share with us some of the learnings basically from these like large scale adoptions of drones in healthcare from these countries?
Yeah, I can share some examples what I have worked in different countries. Maybe I can just highlight the important projects. Maybe it will be useful for the healthcare drone deliveries in India. So in 2016, there is one project initiated by the UNICEF in Vanuatu. It was like a 6-month on-demand delivery. So anytime if someone wants, we have to be prepared and deliver the vaccine. But the problem in that island, there is no electricity. So the terrain is completely, mountainous. Like it is like uneven terrain. In front of we have a volcano eruption. Every day we get a tsunami warning. No electricity. Always generator running in our house to recharge the batteries. So at night we get call that we have to deliver a maternal something kind of medicine to the 50, 100 kilometer distance, we have to prepare the drone. So the drone is always stands in the tent, and we only bring the battery and put the payload and it deploy to the destination. But the problem in the terrain, because as I already said, there is no electricity. How we deliver the medicine? Because the LTE, all the mobile towers are also, powered by the solar panels. So most of the time the towers are not working. So what we have done, we have just implemented our telemetry system in the mobile networks. So we climbed one month back, we climbed all the towers and got the permission, put our mobile networks, our telemetry system on the mobile networks. So like Yagi antennas, like in the directions of all the deliveries, like a 50 delivery systems, and which was useful. But sometimes our battery systems also failed. Though we have a satcom, it also have a delay of 30 seconds. So sometimes it's not useful. So what we have done, like a third, like a safety system, like a spotters. We put the spotters in between the flight routes. We call the spotters, like they just echo from, oh, I see the drone, or the drone is going. So that's how we confirm the delivery. And it happened one time, like either the drone is crashed because it was in the rain. The drone was still, like tangling, like untangling that rope, dropping the package, and it was in the rain. And we still confirmed through the spotter it is safely doing the transition and going to the location back. But in India, we don't have that much, like a poor facility infrastructure. We have already one step forward, like too much. So, but implementing this system is still needed. When I was coming back, two of my like relatives have said like they have lost two children in their hometown in the same day of snake bite. Though we have medicine in the primary healthcare center, still the death rate is still going on. So we have to implement the system as soon as possible in India. And in I will compare the other example in Netherlands. So in Netherlands, the terrain is flat, there is no mountain, and the regulation point of view is strict, like in India. I think the drone rules 2021 and DGCA, like they are the best in the world. They have given a lot of green zones. While I was in the Netherlands, we have to travel 100, 200 kilometers to test visual line of sight operations. There is no green zone. We have to go to the Class G airspace. So this kind of thing is already emerged in India. What I want to have is like an airspace map. So airspace map is still not here. So for my knowledge, I would like to have airspace map so that we will start, delivery in a sparsely populated area before having a UTM. Yes.
Well, thank you, Dinesh. So basically, whether it's Africa or whether it's Netherlands, the opportunity for India and especially for Andhra Pradesh is to learn basically from all the learnings which have already happened over the past 6-7 years to sort of accelerate the movement from here. Right. So, Dr. Sarma, we have AIMS Guwahati, right, has completed again the 0 to 1 journey now, right? That 0 to 1 phase of early pilot basically has completed. How do you see that the next phase of 1 to 10 shaping up? And what sort of challenges that you think we need to solve for when we're going in this 1 to 10 from a user side, from AIMS Guwahati side, right?
So thank you. Basically, we are from AIMS Guwahati. Actually, the Brahmaputra river is around 10 to 12 kilometer wide in many of the places, and it has lots of riverine islands. Those we call as riverine shores or shore islands. So many of the shore PSCs shore have some primary healthcare center or health and wellness center is there, but most of the time they are we cannot go there because of your floods or other kind of weather conditions and all. So in these things, I think drone can have a significant impact on this kind of healthcare deliveries. Again, another concept which I actually recently came across, there was one migratory state dispensary. So migratory means the source actually, these are riverine islands and they keep changing their positions. And hence making a permanent road structure is not at all feasible because the source they change the structures and the paths, making roads also not feasible in those areas. So we are doing riverine shore PSC deliveries to but Idea and Bongalpara PSCs are there. These are two health centers where while going, we take the drugs or medicines, and while coming back, we take up the diagnostic samples for them, so as to make it more cost effective. So these are, and we face many issues in the Riverine Islands. First is there is no electricity. So most of the problem is like they have your solar panels, but again, how much a solar panel can charge a battery that is high powered battery of your drone? That is still we need to we still need to be tested. Then your network problem is very big problem. So again, flood, that is very big problem, because many a times the drone pilots, we have the one problem we identified is the drone pilots, each center requires one drone pilot. So traveling by the pilot is itself very difficult many a times. So these are the many of the problems, and I hope these things will be taken care of by the future technologies. Thank you.
So, Dr. Shah, uh, whenever companies basically come for, let's say, for new technology to the government, right? And rightly so, the government basically has a question on the cost effectiveness of the solution itself. Specifically for drones and healthcare, right? Um, there is basically, it's a logistics use case which is being used for healthcare. In logistics, if you have a van and if you're using it for 1 hour a day, your cost will be high. But if you're using that same van for 5 hours a day, the cost will be low. So it's a direct relationship with the utilization of the vehicle itself, right? Um, Given that drones in healthcare can serve both routine cases and emergency cases, what is your viewpoint on taking um, looking at drones in healthcare more from a capacity building point of view as well? That if districts, if there is going to be a snake antivenom or snake bite basically, which is going to happen in a district, it's important to have 2 drones, 3 drones on standby. Uh, and we're okay with the fact that they're going to be used for emergency. Yes, they're also be going to use for routine immunization and diagnostic sample collection as well. But it will perhaps not be at the same cost at what a bike or a van, which is being used for like 5-10 years, will cost for this new technology. Why don't you share some thoughts basically on some of these cost effectiveness analysis?
Yeah, yeah, that's very relevant point. See, when we are seeking the assistance of the drone technology, obviously the cost matters. What we are expecting is it should be a quick, timely, cost-effective, safe, and it should maintain the privacy of the patients also whenever it goes for collecting the sample or delivering the medicines. Yes, as you said, so emergency requirement is one, and after that what? So how about its cost factor? Yes, for that, so we see that, since it's an emerging field, and so now in any health facilities, even for that matter, any public facilities, we see first aid box. Even it's a bus stand, we see first aid box. Similarly, what the suggestion would be, so all our health institutions, either a PHC or a wellness and health center or a CHC, so need to be provided with the drone space, medical drone space, where we can land this medical drone ambulance we call. So especially in first case, what I said regarding organs. So this organ transportation is mainly what we are looking forward is to have an organ ambulance. So which should be either medium or large scale drones, where the payload capacity should be more than 20-25 kgs, and the distance travel should be more than 50 and above. Okay, so in such cases, yes, the number of drones will be optimized based on our requirement. The two drones requirement will be sought in places where the routine communication transportation is not possible. As case in point, where airport to airport connectivity is there is no issue. So I want only those places where there is no connectivity of airport or airspace limitations. So here we can think of hub model, where in a main place we can place few drones at the hub. Based on the requirement in those spokes, maybe some 20 to 20 spokes can be tagged onto it. So to those spokes, the hub drones can fly as per the need. So instead of having each drone at each spokes, I can hold some 5 to 6 drones in the hub. Based on the need, I can cater. For that matter, we can uh, create zones in the interstate. So where there is more need, so there the hub will be strengthened and the spoke will be equipped with the required technology. Case in point, where if the drone goes there, lands, after the collecting of sample, there will be some technical glitch. So there we need the enabling environment and ecology to have the technician there, and if required, battery replacement in that spoke itself. For that, as I said, we have wellness centers in each and every village now. So wellness center can also have a provision to host this technician and also the drone required either battery or technology, so that the facility when it is extended should have a proper logistic mechanism to attend in case of these kind of breakdowns or emergencies. This will anyway, as a policy matter, there will be certainly suggestion from the health department to have enabling environment for the utility of drone technology for emergency services and also for routine services. So as seen from the foreign experiences, there is an emergency drone network for the medical ambulances. Like how we have 108 ambulance on road, we have a network of ambulance on air also. The uh, the nodal officer at the emergency response system will make decision whether to send a drone ambulance or to send a road ambulance based on the need of the emergency requirement. So accordingly, it should be provisioned in the policy such that the requirement both from the customer patient's point of view and also the cost factor from the service provider point of view are met at the same time. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Shah. It's really encouraging to see that we're talking about drone ambulances as well, and hopefully, some people can work on that as well. So, Mr. Sahi, um, would you say that NHSRC's first job, basically, which was to ignite the kindle the fire of drones in healthcare, which was done last year and starting of this year, has been completed, and now the next phase is up to the states, basically, to start driving more and more higher adoptions. How do you basically foresee the balance between adoptions from AIMS versus adoptions from the state side for drones in healthcare? Because AIMS are delivering to PHCs, whereas the PHCs are typically connected to district hospitals. Any thoughts basically on that front?
Okay. So right now, Government of India has drafted the model RFP, which is being used by the AIMS. Now, Joint Secretary Policy NHM has written all the states under NHM to make some proposal for drones to include as a supply chain logistic system uh, for the public health facilities. So once a strong huge case example comes from AIMS and the community health center as a FRU, then only we can recommend something to states, because right now we have 1.5 lakhs plus sub center. We have more than 30,000 primary health center, and some of the service provider has already worked in Arunachal Pradesh and Meghalaya. But the same case cannot be replicated in state of Bihar, Jharkhand, or Madhya Pradesh. So we are actually looking for a strong evidence from these center ki what are the normal requirement. So you asked ki whether we can use it for routine as well as for emergency. So we need to understand what is the requirement. Like anti-snake venom is one of the life-saving drugs that can be supplied through these drones. But coming up to district hospital would take some time, because we want some kind of evidence that it is cost effective. It is also, it is cost effective, and then it is complementing my conventional supply chain management system. Then only we would come up with some kind of guideline for a state to collaborate with DH or state medical college for using the drones.
Thank you. I think we're out of time right now. Yeah, okay. All right, so we'll conclude the panel, but before that, maybe we have just enough time for 1 minute quick recommendations from each of the panelists, right? So that we can navigate this journey from the next 1 to 10 phase. Gaurav, starting with you, quick recommendations from your side on what needs to be done next.
Right. So based on what we have discussed so far, I think I have three level of suggestions. One is on the implementation side, strictly adhering to the ban on import of drones. That is one, and to implement that, I think the quality check could be done of the product that is being delivered by the respective clients, ensuring that when they put it to service, it's of the good quality. Should they do a demonstration check well in advance before they finalize the contractor? So that could be one. Having long duration contracts, uh, price benchmarking, that could be another aspect. Again, on the regulation side, that's the level two, is speeding up the red zone permissions, and beyond visual line of sight regulation should be cleared as soon as possible. I think that is on the regulation side. And on the implementation side, requesting state governments to support in sandboxing, creating those sectors, districts where these drone services could be implemented without having too much of permission requirements, creating that ecosystem for testing ranges. So I think that those will be three main requests from my side to the respective stakeholders.
Sure. Dinesh?
Yeah, so much points he already covered, but I would like to add just spin points. Like so, as I already said, we should have airspace maps, so which is really needed to understand where is class G, class A, what altitude other aircrafts are flying, and BVLOS corridors. Not only just a corridor. I would like to have a reserved corridor for healthcare. So if there is an emergency, we just use that corridor at least. For example, from Hyderabad to Andhra Pradesh, we can, because our drones are ready to transport organ, but there is no corridor. So while we're talking, there are some other people are getting tied, but we can use this corridor to save them. Yes.
Dr. Sarma?
So the drone operations can be cost effective if it is in emergency services. That is no very little doubt in that. But it can even be cost effective for routine cares also in difficult areas or remote areas. And another important point is if the rate comes a little bit low. That is one of the point from our side. Thank you.
Dr. Shah?
Yeah. So thank you. And yes, as a stakeholders and user agency, we would be more happy to support the technology. And I have already told what's our requirement is. And uh, as a department, we are more happy to support any innovations and any startups and any pilot activities to be done in the state of Andhra Pradesh, especially in the Department of Health. And very welcome to Andhra Pradesh. So we're very happy to onboard you and to support you. Thank you.
So we are about to finalize the operational guideline for drones for Ministry of Health and Family Welfare under National Health Mission, and we are also looking forward from AIMS study outcome ki what is the area where we require it as the most, and that will become our use case. So these are the two things from my side.
Sure. And I think from my side, we've also been delivering in healthcare for almost 3 years. Initially, we got started earlier in Papua New Guinea, but then we started in India. Um, there are, I would say, two use cases of drones in healthcare. One is obviously in routine, and the second is emergency. The the layer on cost effectiveness basically starts at when you look at just routine, uh, the lens of cost effectiveness becomes much more stringent. But when you look at emergency, there's a perspective that drones can be treated beyond just a vehicle which is used for as a logistics case. It is also a vehicle which can be used for emergency care as well. So factoring basically both of that and having a holistic lens on both routine and emergency while adopting this technology will help us navigate this 1 to 10 phase. But with that, I think we should conclude the session and thank all my fellow panelists for a wonderful discussion And hopefully, we'll see more and more drones in healthcare for Andhra Pradesh as well. Thank you. Do we have time for questions? Yeah, please.
I'm Pradeep Kumar, Secretary Public Service Commission. It is said that you can have 1,000 problems in your life until you get a health problem. Thereafter, there will be only one health problem. So that means that drone deliveries can be divided into two. One is for healthcare and for the rest. So if it serves, that is the pinnacle of the cause of the drone deliveries. Now I'm actually appalled to know that from the speech by Dr. Lakshmi Shah that there is no death of donors, but only 50% of the organs could be utilized because of the logistics limitation. Okay, right. Now, I think in this area, drones can excel actually because it can travel the shortest path between 2 points, which is the straight line, is possible only to the drones. Now, I want to know, in order to improve this organ transportation, is there any aggregator like say, for example, for transportation, regular transportation, we have Uber, etc. Like that, can all the hospitals be connected through an aggregator where they will be able to just place their request and then drones will be able to move that one immediately? Because the issue is not just about moving to the remote location. Even within the city also, despite having transportation facilities, vehicle, everything, still it takes a lot of time, and within that golden hour, if we do not deliver the organs or what are medicines, it will be going waste. So, is there any aggregator type of service already available, or is there any idea to come up with that? Thank you.
Yeah, I can answer this question, sir. So because we have, when we launch our drone product like this healthcare drone, we not only manufacture drones, we understood the use case, why it is useful for the longer distance transportation, especially for organs. That is why the payload was fixed like 7 kg. And because the organs cannot fit in 3 kg or 1.5 kg payload, and how we can connect the long range using the mobile application, also the docking station. So our drone can either, though our drone can go up to 150 kilometer, but it is still not enough. Some distance, like for example, that's doctor said, we can use those kind of organs because we can easily resource through the mobile application, and we can understand where the organ is available, and we can reroute that organ to some other places through the drone by having a docking stations in between. We just need to swap the battery because our docking station can change the battery, and then it can go to the longer range like 600 kilometers.
So I think if we have to go say 500 kilometers, so at the moment I don't think there is any vendor who has the capability, and at the moment there is no aggregator as of now. But uh, if there is something, a requirement of that sort, uh, hubs could be created on the way where, like he mentioned, docking or changing of batteries could be done. So we can create a dedicated route between city A and city B, where drones could be flying on the need basis. So yeah, that kind of an infrastructure at a very minimal cost can be created on the demand, on the requirement basis. Yes.
Sir, actually, I tried to connect between Guwahati Medical College and AIMS Guwahati, but there were on inside Guwahati there were so many red zones were there. So getting permission from that is actually problematic. But at the same time, we could connect with Nalbari Medical College, which is in the green zone. So we preferred to connect two tertiary centers because sometimes, many a times, like anti-gas gangrene serum or some things may not be available in the tertiary center also. So in that case, it can be life saving, even connecting between two tertiary centers, like maybe some blood products or some maybe advanced diagnostic tools. In those cases, it can be life saving. But that as per my current understanding, that depends upon the which zone those centers are. Thank you.
Thank you.
ఐఎమ్ అగ్రికల్చరలిస్ట్. నేను ఇప్పుడు స్టాల్స్ అన్నీ తిరిగానండి, తెలుగు అర్థమవుతుంది.
I'll translate. మీరు చెప్పండి.
ఓకే, నేను మొత్తం స్టాల్స్ తిరిగాను. ఏ అగ్రికల్చరల్ డ్రోన్ మ్యానుఫ్యాక్చర్ కూడా బ్యాటరీలకు వారంటీ లేవని చెప్తున్నారు. అది చాలా ఘోరమైన విషయం. ఎందుకంటే ఒక్కొక్క బ్యాటరీ 55,000 లెక్కన ఒక 60 బ్యాటరీలు కొనుక్కుంటే తప్పితే పొలం తీసుకెళ్ళలేము డ్రోన్ని. అంటే ఒక 5-6 లక్షల రూపాయలకి వారంటీ లేదంటే ఇంకా రేపు ఏదైనా అయితే రైతు పరిస్థితి ఏంటి? లేదు ఆ డ్రోన్ మీద ముందు కట్టుకు బతకాలని ఎవరన్నా లోన్ తీసుకుంటే బ్యాటరీలు పోతే అతని పరిస్థితి ఏంటి? వారంటీ లేదనే విషయం మనం ఎక్కడ ఎంటర్టైన్ చేయకూడదనే విషయాన్ని మాత్రం మెత్తుబడి. అక్కడ పెట్రోల్ డ్రోన్ అమ్ముతున్నారు, వాళ్ళు అసలు మ్యానుఫ్యాక్చర్ టోటల్ యూనిట్కే వారంటీ లేదని చెప్పారు. మరి వారంటీ లేకుండా ప్రొడక్ట్ వాళ్ళు అమ్మితే ఇప్పుడు రైతుగా మేము కొనుక్కుని మేమేం చేయాలా?
Okay, sir. మీరు కూర్చోండి. I hope you got the crux. What he means to say is, as from a farmer perspective, to invest in a drone battery which has no warranty is very scary. After investing about 5 lakhs on a drone with a battery without warranty, what is the alternate and replacement?
I mean, so there are two models in drones, right? You can sell a drone and then there is drone as a service. When you are doing drone as a service, all of this is headache of the company sitting over here, basically, that we have to manage the batteries and you're just paying it for usage. But when you're selling the drone in agriculture, then the battery and the drone life is your lookout once you have bought the system. So I think you have to go with vendors which are actually providing with the warranties, and really have to select the vendors and companies which can provide fixed warranties basically for batteries, right?
May not be in the expo today, but there are vendors who can then, right? Sir, మీరు ఒక్క నిమిషం సార్, వీఆర్ రన్నింగ్ షార్ట్ ఆఫ్ టైం. లెట్ మీ క్లుప్తంగా చెప్తాను, ఒక్క నిమిషం. మీకు అర్థమైందా?
నాకు అర్థమైందమ్మా. ఆయన వారంటీ ఇచ్చే వెండర్ తెలుతుందన్న ఎలామని చెప్తున్నారు. నో వెండర్ ఈస్ గివింగ్ వారంటీ ఇన్ యువర్ స్టాల్స్.
నో ఇవాళ లేకపోవచ్చు, బట్ దెర్ ఆర్ వెండర్స్ అంటున్నారు.
యూ కెన్ మీరు అది కంపల్సరీగా అది సిస్టమ్ పెట్టాలా. ఇప్పుడు మామూలు రైతు, ఇప్పుడు నేను అడిగినంత డీటెయిల్స్గా ఏ రైతు అడగరు. నేను అడిగిందా అక్కడ చాలామందికి బ్యాటరీకి వారంటీ ఉందా లేదని అడగాలని కూడా తెలియదు. సో అగ్రికల్చరిస్ట్ ఈజ్ నాట్ ఏ సచ్ సూపర్ నాలెడ్జబుల్ పర్సన్. బ్లైండ్గా సో చీట్ చేయబడతాడు. ఈవెన్ దట్ పెట్రోల్ డ్రోన్ 1 డే వారంటీ కూడా లేదు టోటల్ యూనిట్కి.
సార్ ఒక్క నిమిషం,
అది ఇప్పుడు మనం సెంట్రలైజ్ చేసి త్రూ గవర్నమెంట్ వీ కెన్ ఆర్గనైజింగ్ ప్రిస్టేజియస్గా చంద్రబాబు నాయుడు గారు ఆర్గనైజ్ చేస్తున్న దీనిలో రేపు ఎక్కడన్నా రైతు మోసపోయాడు అనే మాట వస్తే కరెక్ట్ కాదు. కాబట్టి మీరేంటంటే కంపల్సరీ మినిమం వారంటీ అనేది ఫిక్స్ చేయాలా కంపెనీకి. 1 year యూనిట్కి ఇస్తున్నప్పుడు మినిమం 1 year కూడా బ్యాటరీకి లేకపోతే, ఇవాళ సచ్ డేస్ మీరు ఈవీలుగా నేను తీసుకుంటే 8 years ఇస్తున్నారు బ్యాటరీ ప్యాక్ల మీద వారంటీ. ఈవెన్ మీరు డొమెస్టిక్లో ఇన్వర్టర్ బ్యాటరీస్ కానీ ఇస్తే 5 years ఇస్తున్నారు. అసలు వితౌట్ వారంటీ అది వినటానికే కష్టం. మీరు అది ఒకటి అర్థం చేసుకోమని చెప్తున్నా.
ఖచ్చితంగా అలాంటి వెండర్స్ ఉన్నారు సార్. మన ముఖ్యమంత్రి గారు కూడా అదే లైన్స్లో వెళ్తున్నారు. రైతుకి ఎప్పుడు నష్టం జరగకుండా ఆయన చూసుకుంటారు. థ్యాంక్ యూ సార్. థ్యాంక్ యూ panelists. Please come forward. And Dinesh sir, may I request you to felicitate our panelists? Can we all put our hands together? Thank you very much. So a special announcement post lunch to all the exhibitors. Around 2:30, our MD, Mr. Dinesh Kumar, AP Drones Corporation, and his team will be visiting each and every exhibitor to understand more about the product and talk more about the partnership. And we wish to also extend a recognition to all the exhibitors as well. Please be available around 2:30 post lunch, all exhibitors. We have one more keynote presentation after the felicitation. Dinesh sir, request you to please felicitate our panelists and our moderator. Mr. Anshul Sharma, co-founder Red Wing Lamps. Thank you so much. అందరు ఆకలిస్తుందండి, కొంచెం చప్పట్లు కొడితే బాగుంటుంది. Dr. G. Lakshmi Shah. Dr. Pulin Sharma. Mr. Ananjanesh Sahi. Mr. Gaurav. And Mr. Dinesh Baluraj. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Post lunch, another keynote presentation by Mr. Gopalakrishna Ronanki, Joint Collector and Additional District Magistrate. We'll be talking on building digital land records for rural India. I now invite our CMD Andhra Pradesh Drones Corporation, Mr. Dinesh Kumar, on use of drones for disaster management in Andhra Pradesh. We now have this keynote presentation by Mr. Dinesh Kumar, CMD. Thank you.
Hello. Yeah. So good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule and coming all the way here to the Amaravati Drone Summit. I am Dinesh, the Chairman and Managing Director of the Andhra Pradesh Drones Corporation. So thanks for giving us an opportunity to host all of you here in Amaravati. I heard you're having great time. I'll just take 15 minutes of your time to explain what we have done from Amaravati Drones Corporation during the Vijayawada floods. You must have heard a lot about how drones were deployed during the disaster on a big scale. So we are talking about something. Yesterday, the Honorable Chief Minister, the Honorable Civil Aviation Minister, everybody spoke, and then we have seen the transformative potential of the drones. We all know that it's an emerging technology, it has a lot of potential, but still there is a lot of work in progress. That is, there are so many gaps. That is what we wanted to fill during this summit. So the objective of this summit is not just to understand what we are doing presently, but also to try and have an understanding of how we can take this forward. So I'm sure that we are meeting those expectations and standards. So one such use case of drones is what we have seen is during the disaster. What has happened in Vijayawada? You must have already known during September 1st week, September 1 to 10th, we had rainfall on September 1st and then October 31st night. This is heavy rainfall in Vijayawada, and one of the canal, the Budameru canal, got flooded. It received so much of rain, it's not able to dispose properly, and the entire water fell on Vijayawada. And the city was inundated for almost 8-9 days. The Honorable Chief Minister was sitting there in the collectorate and then monitoring this situation. The situation was so bad that it affected 6 lakh people, more than 6 lakh people. And usually in most of the flood, what happens is the water comes, recedes in a day or two, and then the relief and rehabilitation measures starts, right? But this is a unique situation. The water stayed for almost 7 or 8 days continuously. And all these 6 lakh people who got affected and close to 1.8 lakh households, they were inundated, they were living in the midst of water with no way to go. So that is when we, from the beginning, we thought that drones can come as a rescue for us in taking up these relief and rehabilitation measures. Yes, I do understand that drones were deployed previously in many of the disasters, for example, the Kerala floods or the Uttarakhand floods and all. But I am sure that the scale at which the Andhra Pradesh government has deployed the drones for relief operations, and not just for the relief, I will also take you through the entire presentation of what we have done in using the drones, further analytics and all. I think on this scale, I think maybe this is one such use case. So there are many learnings, there are many outcomes, and then there are many gaps that we have identified. During the deployment of these drones, for which we partnered with Minister of Civil Aviation also to come up with a standard operating procedure and a proof of concept, as a proof of concept, to come up with a document that explains how drones can be deployed during disasters. So once the draft is ready, I'll share the document with the entire industry as well. I look forward for your inputs, because this is something, what we understood is there is no standard SOP. What type of drone to be used, what type of batteries to be engaged with. We found that generators are an issue because drone can only fly for half an hour or 1 hour, and then again it comes back. So we have to make arrangements for generators. We don't have a ready list of all the operators who could do, because this is something I have to do it on an emergent basis. So I can't wait for time to run away. So there's a flood today, I have to deploy by evening. So the database is also not available anywhere. So these are few gaps which we identified. So we are coming up with an SOP sorts of a thing on this entire deployment of drones in disaster management. I am looking forward for inputs as well. So how we have used drones? Yes, of course, we have used for the flood mapping and monitoring. So we were continuously monitoring what's happening in Vijayawada through drones. So if I have to divide this, there are roughly around 6 verticals under which we have used drones for. One is, of course, real-time flood mapping and monitoring. The second is assessment of inundation and infrastructure damage that has happened. So the number of buildings that got affected, the length of the roads that got affected, the length of the drains that got affected, a number of trees that got affected. So these are all something which we derived from the insights we are getting from the footage of the drones. Then third, of course, we used the drones for delivery of food and aid, and we used drones for sanitizing the entire area. We have audited the sanitation using drones during the Vijayawada floods. Then they were also used for emergency response planning. So because we have continuous surveillance that's operating, because continuous surveillance that's happening, we could see if there are any SOS calls from anywhere. And last but not the least, this is something again which we found a lot of difficulty. We used a lot of artificial intelligence and machine learning, and thus a lot of data analytics based on the footage that we got from the drones. So we have created one sandbox in Amazon AWS, and we opened that sandbox for all the startups, for all the companies in India. So we created one WhatsApp group. I think most of you must have been part of our initiative as well. So everything that we got, whatever we are capturing, we had put in that sandbox. We asked for solutions, and I'm glad that we got so many such wonderful solutions from many of the startups. Next. So we have set up a control room, and then we have close to 200 people who were working in that control room. We continuously used to monitor what's happening in the field, and from this control room we were generating reports, the SOS calls that we are receiving from public based on. Of course, this is all manual. This can be again automated. This is something which we can work on together. Based on the footage we are seeing, if there is any problem,